There's no time.
Lost. Tides. Darkness.
The time is
13
o'clock.
Hey everybody, what's going on?
If you guys hear explosions, it's because it's storming outside. I mean, there's fucking thunder.
This is like the third storm we've had today.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday was pretty bad too.
It was,
and it only rains for, like I said, it's like the monsoon season. It only rains for a few minutes.
And it's like,
right.
And it's like fucking lightning flash and like hitting the neighbor's house.
Sounds like a damn bomb went off just fucking above the boom. I'm like, damn. Yeah. Sound like a 155 going off. But so hopefully we won't lose the stream.
Yeah.
Because sometimes power outages happen.
Nature might kick our asses.
Right.
Tammy says, got my cookbook today. It looks great. Thank you so much. Yay. I got a message from Esther as well, and she got hers too. So I'm glad you guys like it. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm getting private messages and stuff of people taking photographs of them with their cookbooks. People seem to be enjoying it. Some girls laughing. Tom has hair in the well, I had hair. I guess some of these people kind of knew.
When I took the photos, when I took the photos a couple months ago,
before I shaved my hair,
you still had hair. You just shaved your hair a couple.
Yeah, I shave my hair. I shave my head every now and then. Every couple of years, I'll shave it. And you hear that shit?
Holy shit! God damn.
What was that?
Sounds like the apocalypse out there. Although, like I said, it's just Florida. It sounds like this pretty much every day around this time. We're kind of used to it. It's scary, but it's, we kind of get used to it.
It takes me a while to get used to being bald, Yeah. I shave it and I go, oh man, I don't know if I really should have. Maybe I should have done that.
Well, too late then.
But then, like a couple weeks later, I'm like, no, that looks good, like that. Like it's a.
Well, I mean, it is kind of like, although it's not that weird for you because, you always had really short hair. Yeah. It's not like you were going around with a big old Joe Dirt mullet like your wig.
No, a lot of times
and then you just shaved it all off.
It was real short, too, yeah. Either short or whatever. So, anyway, today, we got a pretty good show. This is about a missing airliner.
The Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, the famous.
This shit went off into a parallel universe. Don Lemon on CNN said that it went through a black hole. So therefore it happened. I don't know. We're gonna see. Oh, stank fingers. That dude, they call him stank fingers. He putting his stinky fingers in people's faces. You hear about that?
No.
Okay, that's a lot. He got into some legal trouble for that. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about.
I certainly do not. But okay, this wouldn't be the first time, that's for sure.
Yeah, you don't know what's up with, you don't know what's going on. But that's,
I do. It's just I don't know what's going on in those corners.
That shit. Yeah, that shit. That was pop culture, online pop culture. But anyway, so we're gonna talk about that, and then do we have anything that we needed to plug?
All I wanted to say, and don't let me forget, like at some point during the stream, I don't usually show ads anymore, but I do actually have an ad to show.
Okay.
For the Strange Realities conference.
Yeah.
That's Adam saying our friends over at Conspiranormal, and they're having their yearly conference, which I actually did a thing on last year. I think it was in October or November last year, and it was all online. This year they're doing a combo. They're doing they're doing it in person. It's in Nashville, but they're also doing some of it online too. So, so I got an ad, so I got to play that at some point. So please don't let me get so fucking hammered that I forget to play the ad.
New trailer for Dune dropped yesterday. I saw it today. It looks badass. I liked it.
Yeah, I got to watch that.
I thought I sent you didn't I send you a no, I just told you about it, didn't I?
Yeah, you just told me. Yeah. I don't know. Even if you did send it, I don't check Facebook.
There's a lot more in this one. And you can see there's a lot of, if you like the Dino De Laurentiis version, you're not going to be disappointed. They show you what people look like. You recognize certain scenes, the flying fat man, everything. And it looks good. It looks really good.
I mean, I'm excited about
it. The Atreides uniforms didn't change all that much. The knife fighting, it looks really good.
The only trailer that I saw today was for the new M. Night Shyamalan movie called Old, which I guess is in theaters now, I'm supposing, because it looks like some people that I watch online have already seen it. So thank you, David June. Here's a plug for Tom's awesome Pliskin shirt.
Thank you. I got the large Pliskin label.
You're a large Pliskin.
Yep. If you guys are interested, I'll send you one for a $20 super chat.
Sandra, world champion in dwarf tossing, says...
shit, yeah. She changed her name. She's a world champion in dwarf tossing. Does she toss male dwarves or female dwarves? It must be females. She's in female wrestling, right?
I suppose so.
I'd like to see Sandra wrestle some female dwarves. I'm gonna call my friend. We're gonna set that up. Yeah.
Sandra said, "We'll tell you when we're halfway through the show, Jenny. So after 3 hours, play the fucking ad, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of like the thing about this case in particular was that I remember hearing about this on the news when it happened, right back in 2014. And I remember it being, like, mysterious, like, that they hadn't found the plane and everything. But I hadn't really and I knew there was, like, a lot of stupid conspiracy theories about it, like there is about everything these days, seemingly. But I hadn't really, like, followed any of the shit, so I didn't really know what was going on with it. So the last few days, I started, like, reading everything I could read on it. I watched, like, a shit ton of different documentaries. Like, Australia did a 60 Minutes about it. There was, like, another fucking Australian documentary about it. There was just, like, all kind of stuff. And if what they think happened is what happened, it's pretty fucking creepy. It's not paranormal or anything like that. It's just, like, really, really creepy. And like I said, I think this scared me the most because I hate flying in planes. And after listening to this story, like what probably happened on this fucking plane, I never want to fly in an airplane ever again because it just sounds like horrific. It's just, I don't know. I just don't want anything to do with it. It's so scary. I don't know why it bothered me so much. It just really, really bothers me. Anything to do with, like, plane crashes bothers me. So, you know what I mean? But, you know, like I said, I'm just saying right from the gate, I don't think it went through a black hole. It didn't, like, get kidnapped by aliens. You know, it's... all the conspiracy theories about it are dumb. There's, like, tons of evidence, like, pointing to one particular thing that happened. They don't know exactly why it happened because it's super weird, but... I'm just saying.
Yeah, but Sandra's talking about smooth and crunchy peanut butter again. Did you do that peanut butter shake like I said with the vanilla ice cream? Oh, that shit's so good.
It is really, really good, yeah.
Making me try to pull out some fucking peanut butter talking about it. I got that whole jar of damn goober grape. I still didn't even open it because I have so much other peanut butter and jelly sitting around.
We have so much fucking peanut butter
so
in this house. I mean, it's like, we have so much everything. It's like, you can't, I only eat like once or twice a day. So it's just kind of like all this food is just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
shelf stable though.
Well, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Camp Guy says I got some almond butter at Costco. I love almond butter.
Yeah,
actually,
good.
and I still have a little bit of cashew butter left as well, which is also delicious. I have that for breakfast every now and then on my toast.
Yeah, I bet you Sandra has never heard of cashew butter or almond butter. We're gonna get her on the other butters.
Butters.
The other butters. Yeah. Really good.
Come craft and chat with Sally Ann says, loving listening to you guys. My first time here while I'm sat having a glass of wine.
Oh, cool.
All right. Salute. All right. We're having, what even is this? This is cherry vodka and what?
It's cherry vodka with apple juice, grape juice. What's that stuff? Not passion fruit. What's the other stuff that I had in there?
Mango?
No.
Guava?
Guava,
okay.
Yeah. And a little bit of cranberry. And then cherry vodka. It's fruit punch.
Yeah. It kind of tastes like very, very boozy.
Yeah.
Hawaiian punch kind of.
Probably would have been, tasted it was good. It probably would have been better with that coconut vodka.
Well, everything's good with coconut vodka.
Right.
Tila says, the harshest plane ride, I flew through a storm at night over Texas. Thought we were going down. I always check for the flight attendants to gauge how to react. I had the same thing happen. It's like I wasn't scared of flying until one particular flight where I was flying from Orlando to London, and we were midway over the Atlantic Ocean, and we had super, super bad turbulence. The kind of turbulence where you could like actually feel the plane dropping like several hundred feet. And I was wigging out. Everybody on the plane was wigging out. And even actually some of the flight crew were looking a little nervous So I was just kind of like, oh, goody. I just really did not want to die this way of all the fucking ways. Christ. So it's like, I don't know. I think I've said this before, but it's like, it doesn't bother me as much if we're over land. I don't know why. It's like, you're still going to die, like, if you hit the fucking ground. But for some reason, like, being over the ocean, it's just kind of like, oh, there's something, like, so creepy about that. And honestly, maybe that was one of the things that creeps me out about this case is that, I mean, I know the ocean's big and everything, but the fact that they haven't found the wreckage, they haven't found any of the bodies. Now, they have found pieces of the plane, or that they're pretty sure are from that plane, but they haven't found, like, the bulk of the wreckage, and they haven't found any of the bodies yet either. They kind of know. I think the thing about it, and we'll get into this in a bit, for a while, because of some incorrect information, the first searches that went out were looking like way in the wrong place. So now that they actually kind of know, like from other like satellite data and stuff like that, where the plane actually probably went down, maybe they'll be able to find it. But as it's in the Indian Ocean somewhere, and it's just kind of like, the ocean's a big place, y'all, and it's like really, really hard to find shit. And that's like a really, really remote and really like the weather is really bad in that part of the area where they ditched it, where it got ditched. So, there's that whole situation too. They probably will. I was watching one documentary, and there was one guy on there that said, as far as commercial aircraft go, he's not talking about like military aircraft or anything like that, but as far as like commercial aircraft go, it's like, this is the only plane that they haven't found it. It's like, sometimes it takes a while like to find it, but they always find it. But this one, they haven't found it yet. But it's only been since 2014, so we'll see how it goes. What?
Nothing.
Oh.
I'm just listening to you. Putting my fucking my sexy gloves on. That's sexy and everything up. And
Your sex and everything
up. Those fucking girls.
Oh, and you have shorts on.
And I got shorts on.
So somebody might ask you to
Sandra's
go
gonna
get
ask me to
something
go
off
climb
the
up out of
shelf.
that. She gets them up off the shelf.
So she can see your legs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get Sandra fat.
Thank you, TB Driggers.
What do you say?
Just because I love you guys.
Thank you very much.
We love you too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You want to go ahead and start with the case? I mean, we got a good crowd in there.
Yeah.
They're getting antsy.
They're getting antsy. Oh, one thing I did want to say was that, did you notice we hit 11,000 subs?
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, I think
sure did.
yesterday. I think
Good.
it was, we like went 2 or 3 over. I don't know what it was this morning because I forgot to look. But yeah, we finally got over 11,000. So yay!
Go ahead and plug that cookbook real quick before we start, Jenny.
Oh,
Show them the cookbook. If you guys have not seen the cookbook, everybody's enjoying it. And of course, Jenny makes all different kinds of books, but the new cookbook is in. All right.
Look, even Pookie and Beijing are on the cover.
And it's got fucking all kinds of stuff, man. It's got Southern classics.
Yeah,
it's
the
got
bulk of
Brazilian
probably
food,
half of it is like Southern food, and then
Yeah.
there's like Indian food,
Mexican food,
Chinese
Show it to
food,
them. They can't see
Thai
that. They can't
food.
see that.
I'm just like looking for a picture.
yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
right.
Just quit rushing me.
Oh, I thought you were trying to show it to them.
No. I was looking for something that was like a good picture.
Yeah.
That's all I was doing.
Yeah,
He doesn't think that I know what I'm doing. Most
No,
of the
you know
time.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's even got some Indian food in there, and really, that's a very attractive cookbook if you're outside the United States too. Like if you really wanted to know what Americans really eat, not that bullshit you get at McDonald's, man. We don't eat that. We eat more
Yeah, we
stuff
do.
more like
What are
that.
you talking
We'll
about?
eat that. We will eat that, but we're drunk when we eat that, and that is not American food.
We'll eat that when we're drunk or when we're like really desperate.
Yeah.
We're like in a hurry.
It's not true American food. That's fucking corporate food. We more like that kind of stuff, especially if you're in the South. That's got Southern classics in there that at the North and even California, they knew nothing about that. Nothing.
Mrs. Evans' Arty Party says, ooh, how do we order one? Just go to lulu.com and search Cooking Time with 13 o'clock.
Yep.
DJ Maniac asks, what is your actual relationship like with Beijing? The way you talk about her on the streams, it sounds like she loathes you.
No, she's very aloof.
She's just very, very aloof.
Yeah, she's...
Honestly, though, this morning,
Yeah.
I came in here, like, before, it was, like, really early, and I came in my office, like, and I was getting some food ready for, because I go on my walk and I take food for Mr. McGuire, the Path Kitty. So I have some cat food bags stowed in here. And Beijing and Pookie were both, like, kind of laying in the living room. Like, Beijing was laying very weirdly, like, by one of her little scratching posts, and Pookie was up in the chair. And I was like, hey, Beige, you all right? Because she was just kind of like, whatever. And then, like, I was in here getting some food, and she came in here, and when she started, like, talking to me, like, And then, like, she laid down and, like, let me pet her, which she hardly ever does.
Yeah.
Usually, like, she'll let you pet her. She's not going to bite you or anything. But when you pet her, she's always sounds like she's complaining about it.
It's not good enough. It's,
Oh, that wasn't really what I wanted. It's like, it's always that kind of attitude.
she's real skinny and fluffy and real pretty, and she knows it. She's kind of like the Paris Hilton of cats, but she's better looking than Paris Hilton, if you ask me.
She is,
She
yeah.
thinks she thinks she's the fucking God's gift.
Yeah,
And
she just, I
everything
mean...
is not good enough. It's,
This
And
is
she
not
does not like
acceptable.
Pookie is like a little kid, and she's like, "Oh no, I can't take it. I can't take this."
It's so funny. The
And Pookie
dynamic
tries to
between the
fucking
two of 'em. Yeah,
grab
she's
her
like,
tail
"Oh,
and
I'm gonna
shit.
grab her tail," because
Yeah.
she has this big, huge, fluffy tail.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh,
Oh, that baby!
yeah.
I hate that baby.
yeah."
Sometimes they'll hang out. Like,
Right.
they don't fight all the time.
Yeah.
But Pookie can't resist that big fluffy butt, though.
Yeah.
So it's like every time the fluffy butt like goes by, I can see Pookie's little face going, "Oh, I really need to jump on that."
She became a bitch when we got Pookie. She blamed me, especially because of me. She blames me for that cat. As soon as I got Pookie, all of a sudden I became the asshole.
Yeah. Oh, you brought that baby here. You brought that baby.
Yeah. They're not stupid.
No, they're totally not.
They're not stupid. They have personalities and they understand dynamics.
And it's funny because our two cats are they have completely different personalities. Completely different.
Back to selling that book, though, that cookbook. There's recipes in there, real good Southern recipes. And when I was living up in Boston, one of them, right outside Arlington Square, one of the hottest restaurants in Boston was a fucking Southern restaurant called Red Bones. And it was barbecued pork and fucking kind of like fake Southern food. It was Southern inspired food, but they fucking loved it. I ate it. It was good. It wasn't authentic, but it was good. Cornbread was fucking fluffy and light and sweet. Cornbread is coarse and bland. It's like eating sandpaper. That's what it's really like. But for some reason you like it. It's just no way to describe it.
Although I will eat either kind, to be honest with you.
Real Southern cornbread is not for tourists.
Because Boston Market would do those cornbreads that were real sweet and stuff, but those were kind of good though.
Yeah,
I liked
my
those.
dad used to make fun of that shit. Man, that's that Yankee corn cake. That's not cornbread. That's cake. You know, and he was right.
We like the stuff that tastes like crap.
Yeah. Well,
Just
it's
kidding.
supposed to be not. It's not supposed to be. Not supposed to rise up too much. It's only about an inch thick. It's kind of coarse and dry, and it cracks and crunches when you drop. When it's soft, but not really. It's like there's grit in it. It's just pieces of cornmeal. But you use that to sop up all the fluids and all the drippings from Southern food, like, you know, all that's in there. All that is in there. And so if you're outside the South, or if you're in England or in Germany I got one German, I already sold one to her. If you'll be able to get those components and execute the real thing, and it is good, and it doesn't cost much to make. You know, the whole secret behind Southern food is to make nothing taste like something and fucking eat like a king just on a few dollars. And that's in there. And it's got real good Mexican food.
Cheap jack stuff.
Real good Mexican food that I cleared through Conavatzlan
Actual Mexican.
Official Mexican. Official Mexican.
Official Mexican.
He's officially Mexican. All right, fucking. That's my boy. We're fucking. We trade
Mexican.
recipes a lot. He lives in Tijuana.
Yeah, they're always like talking about.
We
food.
always talking
Like,
about shit.
he's over there. On the
He
tablet,
sends me
but-
pictures of his food, and I'm like, going, God damn.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super funny. Because like we'll be like in the bedroom watching a movie, and I see him over there, and I just see like pictures of Mexican food pop up.
Con sends me two things: pictures of fucking Mexican food and pictures of Mexican ass.
girls' asses. Yeah.
Mexican asses. Yeah, it's like
It's
that's
either
a
one or
good.
the other.
He says, so what do you think of that one? He's trying to rate it. Trying to rate it. She looks good. She looked real good. She goes, that's what we got here. Yeah, that's that kind of stuff. It's just guy stuff. You know, we do that.
Yeah. Sleazy B says, how much is a cookbook? It's $35.
Yeah. Which might sound like a lot, but that is a cheap cookbook actually for the level of production on that. It's good quality paper. It's color. It's funny. It's not a dry cookbook. It's funny. It's got quotes in there from me.
Yeah.
The cookbook reads the way I talk. So it's
that's what I try to do because I I just recorded him talking about each of the recipes, and then I put that into I put my own shit in there too, but it's like I kind of put that in written form.
Yeah, and it got pictures of
So it
Pookie
would
in
make
it and everything.
sense.
Pictures of
Yeah.
me with knives.
Yeah. DJ Maniac says, well, because he was talking about Beijing before, it's like,
Yeah.
we have Pookie. Oh, and this is Beijing.
Yeah. Beijing's a lot older than Pookie.
Well,
She's-
yeah, like I
she's a grown
said,
woman. She doesn't.
You actually had Beijing before I even met you. Because,
Beijing's an old woman now.
yeah, she's 13. I think she's 13. And like I said, she just doesn't interact with us as much because she just kind of like does her own thing. Like I said, she's very
Scroll
aloof.
up.
So it's kind of like, well, but there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to answer.
Tila sent a $10 super chat saying, Team Sweet Cornbread because it's payday. Thank you very much. I like the sweet cornbread too. My dad made fun of it. He calls it corn cake, Yankee corn cake. He would deride that shit. But I would eat it. But like, it's not cornbread though. It's corn cake. It is good, but it's
I don't
not.
care what you
It's
call
not
it,
the
it's
real
still
thing.
good.
It's good, but
Yeah.
that's not the real thing. And you don't ask Yankee corn cake to be cornbread. You're doing different things with that. You know what I'm talking about? Yankee corn cake could actually be a dessert. That's how sweet it is.
Yeah.
But Southern cornbread, you dip that into things. Like you could dip that into fucking black-eyed peas, or you could dip that into fucking the drippings from, say, like fucking collard greens. You know, so it's a lot more savory. You know, it's just like Mexicans fighting over should it be a flour tortilla or a corn tortilla. If you're a real Mexican, it's a fucking corn tortilla. Flour tortillas are fucking for Californians, man. Come on. That's a northern thing. I like them both, though.
Yeah, they're both.
They're both good.
Well, they're both good for
They're
different
both good for
applications.
different things, yeah.
Sleazy B says, is Trail Kitty still around? Yeah, I see him. I didn't see him today, but I saw him yesterday. So I always take a bag of food just in case. And every time I take a bag of food, like he'll just be sitting there by the fence and he'll just come out and start yelling.
Now, I have to clarify. I was talking about corn tortillas and flour tortillas for tacos. Everybody knows a flour tortilla is for a burrito. But when it comes to tacos, a southerner down in Mexico is not going to like a flour taco that much. You're going to want a corn taco. And having made my own corn tortillas out of corn masa it's a lot better than a pre-bought fucking corn tortilla or this fucking Taco Bell bullshit. When you make your own tortillas, and I talk about it in that book, you make your own tortillas, it's a fucking whole nother dish. It's just a whole other world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth Row Down says all cats loathe their owners. I don't know if that's the case.
No.
What I was saying before was that Beijing is just a very aloof cat. She's just kind of like, I want to do my own thing. You try to pet her, and she's just like, okay, fine. But
That's enough. Get
that's
away from
enough.
me. Yeah.
But Pookie is like the total opposite. She's
Right.
just like constantly up in your face, up in
Yeah.
your shit. She just wants to be like involved, whatever you're
She
doing.
wants you to chase her.
Yeah, it's like
all the
if
time.
you're on the tablet, if you're like eating something, she's like sticking her face. What you doing? What you doing?
Yeah.
If I'm putting laundry away, she's like, what are you doing? And she's like clawing at the towels and stuff.
She
So
watches movies.
She watches movies with us.
She'll
She
sit there
sits
and
on the
watch
end
them.
of the bed
Yeah.
and just and watches a movie. She was watching Midsummer with us,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, Midsummer scared her. She was getting drawn in because she knows what green and what forest.
She sat there and watched pretty much that whole
Yeah.
entire movie.
Yeah, she knows what nature looks like. She can recognize that. If she sees a big cityscape, she's never seen that, so she can't relate to that. She'll look away. But if it's people running around and grass, and trees, and she's looking at that, and she responds to the soundtrack. If it's getting scary, she'll look back at us.
Yeah.
Eyes like,
is it okay?
Is it okay? Can I look at it? Yeah, it's gonna be.
Well,
all
the
right.
thing that freaked her out in Midsummer the most, that was funny, we were watching it last night, was there, for a couple sequences, there's like a baby crying in
Yeah,
the
she was
background.
worried
and
about
that was
that.
really bothering her.
Yeah.
She kept she didn't move, but she was like sitting at the end of the bed and she kept turning around like
eyes like this big.
with big eyes like, is that
the baby
okay?
was crying. Yeah.
Why is the baby crying?
Yeah. I don't think she knows what a baby crying is, but she knew that was something wrong.
She knew that was bad.
was
Well,
some kind of
because a
cry.
lot of times, because like I said, we mostly just watch horror movies. So there's always like scary music or people screaming. If people
Yeah.
screaming or babies crying, like really seems to,
Yeah, it bothers her.
that freaks her out. Like not so much that she's going to run under the bed, but she'll like look at us to check and make sure that
Well,
it's
a
okay.
baby crying sounds a lot like a rabbit being eaten or killed.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
it's kind of a universal distress call.
Right.
So she's going, something's
Yeah, her eyes get super big. and
something's
she
being
turns her little head
killed.
around like,
Yeah, something's wrong. They're killing
What's
it.
the matter?
Where is it?
Where's that baby?
Yeah. I don't think she knows it's a baby, though. I think she might just think it's some kind of animal.
Yeah, probably.
She's never seen a baby.
Yeah, I don't think she ever has,
No,
actually.
she's never seen a baby.
No, she's only 4.
Yeah.
And I don't think nobody's ever brought a baby over here, so.
She's only seen one young kid, and that was Dimitri and Dimitri's daughter.
And she wasn't that
She
young.
wasn't that young.
She was
She-
like 12 or something.
Yeah. She was mystified, though. Like, whoa, she's little. Littler than an adult.
Who is this little person?
Yeah.
Gramthars Hammer says, I hear pilots sometimes intentionally cause turbulence when they think a couple of passengers are in the bathroom doing the Mile High Club thing. Wouldn't that be funny if they really did? It's like, I don't know how you would know, but it's like if somebody came to the front and like told you like some shit, hey, I think some people are fucking in the tiny airplane bathroom. Why the fuck would you do that?
I doubt it.
Those airplane bathrooms are so fucking small, and the pilot's like, watch this.
How would they know anybody was back there?
That's what I know. That's what I'm saying.
Unless there's cameras.
That would be
Yeah.
super funny if somebody did that, though.
And I think piloting a plane is all computer controlled. I don't even think they grab those controls for the most part.
Yeah, normally they don't.
Yeah.
Well, normally they don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everything's like pretty routine. Yeah, not much room in an airplane bathroom. It's not even really much room for one person. I don't see how you can
Yeah.
get 2 fucking people in there.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Just Pepper said, he's talking to me. He says Mexican food and Mexican asses are 2 great commodities. Yeah.
2 great commodities,
Yeah.
butts and food. That's okay. Yeah. So did I say thank you to Tila for the...
Yeah, I think
Yeah, 'cause that was a while back. Well, like I said, it's like I was trying to like answer questions and you kept derailing me, so
Yeah.
it's like I got really behind.
4th drawer down says, E.G. hookers cannot resist crack. Everyone knows that.
Frankenhooker.
Again, that ought to be a shirt, another shirt. But that says so much crazy shit that should be a shirt.
Well, that was in Frankenhooker, though.
Yeah.
I mean, or something like that was in Frankenhooker.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
That inspired. I don't think he said that though.
God damn it, I love Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
I think I said that on the review. I'm like, I unironically love this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sandra says there are funny games for cats that they can play on a tablet. Maybe Beijing would like those, like running mice and then try to catch
Yeah.
them. I've seen those, and it's like, I wonder if she would play those.
Yeah.
She doesn't, I mean, she mostly just like lays around looking pretty and is like, look how beautiful I am. She has that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But she might. She plays sometimes. She likes to jump up the wall and like surprise you.
Sandra mentioned, and this is true, that Beijing loves raccoons, though. And that is absolutely true.
That is.
I walked out on the back porch, and 3 raccoons had walked on the back porch, maybe 3 or 4, and we're looking at Beijing. And Beijing was she just wanted to get laid. I could tell. She's like, "Oh, you guys are so cute. We're gonna get it on." I thought,
Look at those sexy raccoons.
yeah, she was definitely in on it. She was into it. She's like, "Oh, wow," and she was up on the chair, looking down, and the raccoons were standing up on both legs, sniffing her. And I didn't watch it long enough. I thought there was going to be trouble, but there wasn't. As soon as I opened the door, they ran off, and she looked at me like, "Well, you fucked it up."
We were hanging out.
Yeah. I had always heard that raccoons were kind of mean, but I did more research afterwards. No, they're not mean to cats. They like cats. They get along quite a bit.
That's really
A lot of
really
videos
funny.
of raccoons and cats hanging
Now,
out.
I did have a cat attacked, not by a raccoon, though, by a possum. A possum attacked
Yeah.
a cat, but I don't know if the cat attacked him first.
Just Pepper says, "I never thought about it, but Midsummer does seem like a really good for an animal's attention. When animals get creeped out, you know it's good." Yeah. Yeah.
She seriously, and that's
She
a
was
long
creeped
movie.
out.
It's like
Yeah.
2.5 hours. I'm pretty sure she sat there and watched most of the movie.
Yeah, she was standing there.
She missed the
looking
beginning
away.
of it, but then she like came and sat on the edge of the bed and she just watched the whole thing.
It's all those nature scenes.
I guess so.
And,
It's like,
and the music, she was getting drawn into it.
yeah, she was just like sitting there
Yeah.
looking at it like that. And she knows that it's not real. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because sometimes, we have the big TV and it's like I'll be like, "Look, Pookie, there's a kitty on TV." She knows that's not a real kitty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's interested in it because of the noises that it makes, but she doesn't go up there going, "Ooh, look, it's a real kitty." She understands that that's...
Tila said Beijing's a hoe. She's not the hoe. What it is, she's just experimental. Okay. She's not a hoe. She just sees all
Don't judge her.
Yeah. It was going to be like an interracial gangbang. You know what I mean? She's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm into this. Yeah, all 3 of y'all. Come on."
She's like, "Look at your pretty stripy tail."
And she hates cats. See, that's the thing. She does not like other cats.
Well, because she wants to be the most beautiful.
Yeah, but
That's
she
why.
saw those raccoons and she was super impressed.
I think that's why she was so mad when we got
Yeah.
Pookie, because she's like, Pookie is little and she's like really cute and everybody's fussing over her.
Yeah.
Because we got Pookie when she was like tiny. And so she was like, "I'm supposed to be the beautiful baby."
Yeah.
And now you have this other
Yeah,
little baby.
she got
And
dis-
I don't like that baby.
She got displaced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she totally felt like that too.
Yeah.
You could tell that was like her attitude. And like I said, she blamed you.
Yeah.
Mainly. Because I think she held you responsible for bringing Pokey into the house.
Yeah.
So it's like now every time Bennett would be like, hey, Beige, what's up? And he'll try to, but she'll be like, ah. She makes a noise like that. She goes, ah.
Get the fuck away from me.
It's so fucking funny.
She asks you for things, but she doesn't want me touching her. She's stop that affection shit.
She's like, yeah.
You don't love me, bitch. Get off me.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
So fucking funny.
Cats are so funny. They're just, seriously, they're hilarious. But I was gonna say when somebody said about the games, like on the tablet, one thing that I don't like, Pookie is interested in the tablet because Tom has it, and it's like, ooh, who's that person that's like on there, and she's interested in that. But her favorite thing on that fucking tablet, I think we've said this before, you have a piece of tape that's over the webcam. And she is just adamant that she is going to chew that piece of tape off of there.
Yeah.
And the weird thing, he had an old tablet and he put like a bunch of tape all over it and gave it to her, like as a
nope.
toy. And she was like, she would not play with it.
Yep.
She's like, no, I want yours.
Yeah. She knows that wasn't my tablet.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to take this one. Because she's down here just all the time going,
yeah, trying to
get that piece of tape off there.
All right, so it's time to start the show. I mean, fucking the crowd is at its zenith. Let's get this shit out because we never hardly get more than 40 anyway.
All right.
So let's go ahead and start this show.
So we're going to talk some about this show. And like I said, I asked you before we started, you don't know hardly anything about this.
I only know what I heard from the news.
And I didn't know, like I said, I remember hearing about it in 2014 when it first happened. And then I remember like there was a mystery about it, like they never found the plane. But that was pretty much all I knew about this particular case until I started researching it. And it's just like, I can understand why it became this big like internet mystery, this big rabbit hole and stuff. Because it's just like what the most likely scenario is so creepy and weird that, you know, that's just going to capture everybody's imagination. But I didn't realize that they knew so much information about what had happened to the plane subsequently. I kind of thought, oh, it just vanished, and it's like, oh, it just crashed into the ocean, big deal. Well, it's a big deal, obviously. But I didn't know that there was all this other kind of weird shit that had happened, like, prior to that. Okay, so we're going back to March 8th, 2014. It's 12:42 a.m. Now, this is a Boeing 777, otherwise known as the 777. And this is a Malaysia Airlines flight. And it's taking off from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And this is a routine flight going to Beijing, China. They do this flight 2 times every single day. So nothing unusual about it at all. So this plane takes off at 12:42 a.m. Goes up to its cruising altitude, 35,000 feet, normal. This is so the guy on it. There's like the guy that was flying the plane. There was the captain was on the plane, and then there was also the first officer. His name was Farid Hamid. He was actually 27 years old, and he was. What are you doing?
Just trying to scroll down to where it was.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah.
Aren't disappearing planes common enough? They are. Which is scary, but the reason for this one disappearing was kind of crazy. I kind of feel like that's why. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were here, but I was watching a documentary about it where there was a guy that said all commercial airlines that have crashed into the ocean and shit like that, they have actually eventually found all of them, even though it takes a long time. But this is the only one that they haven't found yet. I do think eventually they'll find it, although, as far as I know, like they called off a lot of the searches in 2017. Like there was some private companies looking and shit like that. So I don't know if they're going to keep, because it does seem like most people want to kind of keep looking, at least like to know like where the fucking, at least to get the bodies back. You know what I mean? Because they never did find any bodies. So, yeah, Tila says disappearing planes is extremely scary. Don't think it ever Don't think it never crosses my mind when I fly. This is why I can't, like, I have such a hard time flying, because it's fucking scary, you know.
And Sleazy B said he sent me some photographs. He found some magic mushrooms outside. I think it was the hospital. He says, "Look at these," and he's comparing them. He sent me the picture, and I says, "Yeah, that's them." He fucking took the magic mushrooms, started eating them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's such a good idea to just eat random mushrooms.
It was the mushroom.
Because some of them are poisonous.
It was the one. Yeah, it looked like
die,
it. Yeah, it looked like it. My dad was an expert at those fuckers.
A lot of people are. There's a lot of people that go foraging for
Yep.
mushrooms, like in
Yep.
the woods. You got to watch because, like I said, it's the poisonous ones and the non-poisonous ones. Kind
He
of
was looking for the food once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what most people are
Right.
doing. Honestly, if you can find like some really rare ones, some like restaurants and shit will pay you like
Yeah.
a ton of money for those.
That's what he said. He found some that were worth almost like $60 a mushroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, so there's like a whole subculture
Yeah.
of people that do that.
Yeah.
Like as a hobby.
He was trying to make side money out on the deer, out in the deer patch.
Yeah.
Because he kept finding all these damn mushrooms and shit. It turned out, some of that shit was worth money. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of like farm to table restaurants will totally
Yep.
buy those off you. So the first officer was actually the one flying the airplane when it took off. Now, he was 27 years old. As I said, his name was Farik Hamid. This was actually his last. He had logged about, I think it was about 2,700 hours of flight time. This was actually, he was still a trainee. This was actually his last training flight. In more ways than one, and I know that's like really horrible to say, but yeah, this would have been his last flight. After this one, he wouldn't have been like a trainee anymore. You know what I'm saying? He would have been like a first officer. Now, the guy training him, the one that was the pilot, was named Zahari Ahmad Shah. Now, they usually just call him Captain Zahari because I guess that's a Malaysian thing where they just call everybody by their first names. Now, he had been flying for Malaysia Airlines for a really long time, and he had like pretty much a spotless record. 53 years old, one of the most senior captains at Malaysia Airlines. He was married, had 3 grown children, lived in a really nice neighborhood. He actually owned 2 houses, so he had one really nice house and then another one. Now, one thing that will come into play later on was that in the house that he lived in, he was really into aviation. Like it was a big hobby. Because not only did he fly planes for a living, but it was also something that he was really interested in just outside of work hours. So he actually had, he was on all these online forums about it, and he had a Microsoft flight simulator at his home that he used to like just play with like all the time. And if you look, he was really active on social media, like Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that. And he was really interested in aviation, like I said. So he had posted, I don't know if they're still there anymore, but he had posted like a lot of videos like talking about different aspects of aviation and stuff. He seemed like a super nice dude and super normal. So that's kind of the thing that's going on. So in the cabin of the airplane, there were, like, besides the 2 of them, there were also 10 flight attendants. So that's 12 crew members in total. All of them were Malaysian citizens. In the passenger compartment of the plane, there were 227 passengers. 5 of them were children. The bulk of the passengers were Chinese, which is not that surprising since the flight was going to Beijing. Out of the rest of the passengers that were not Chinese, 38 of them were Malaysian. And there were also a handful from Indonesia, a few Australians, some from India, a couple French people, a couple Americans, a couple Iranians, a couple Ukrainians, Canadian, New Zealand, the Netherlands, 1 Russian, and 1 Taiwanese person. So that's what was on the plane. Now, so, as I said, the first officer was actually the one flying the plane because he was in training, as I said, while the captain was manning the radios. Not unusual. This was something that, often happened when one of them was a trainee or whatever. So, at this point, so everything seems fine. They take off from Kuala Lumpur. Everything's normal. The weather's good. Like I said, this is a very routine route. This is a route that they flew 2 times a day. It was the middle of the night. There was one in the middle of the night, and there was one in the daytime. So 1:01 a.m., the Captain Zahari, he radios that they've leveled off at 35,000 feet. Now, this is a little bit unusual, but not enough to like make anybody like suspicious, because normally what you would do is, I guess, because if you're under like the radar, they already know that you're at 35,000 feet. So normally you would just radio in, hey, you're changing your altitude, not that you're like cruising at an altitude. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, so they thought it was like a little strange, but not that strange. So, when you're leaving an altitude, you report, not when you arrive at an altitude. That's what I'm saying. So 7 minutes later, at 1:08 a.m., the flight crosses into crossed the Malaysian coastline and then started setting out across the South China Sea in the direction of Vietnam. And at this point, the captain radios in again and again reports the plane's level at 35,000 feet. Again, unusual, but not really unusual enough to, for anyone to get alarmed. 11 minutes after that, at 1:19, the plane is closing in on, there's one point where the Malaysian airspace would turn into the Vietnamese airspace, right? And you're supposed to report when that happens because you're being handed off to that other country's air traffic controllers, right? So that's just standard procedure. So basically, the last thing that happens, so when he's leaving Malaysian airspace, the air traffic controller at Kuala Lumpur radioed to him, Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night. So that's basically he's saying, now you're in Vietnamese airspace, so contact them and tell them that you've arrived, because they have a system where you have to radio in, for every airspace so they know where you're at. And at this point, the captain answers, and like I said, you can listen to, the recordings of this, which are super creepy since you know what happened. The captain answers, good night, Malaysian 370. Normally, you would read back the frequency at this point, but he did not. His voice didn't sound weird. He just sounded like normal. But that's all he said. Good night, Malaysian 370. This was the last communication that anyone ever had with this fucking airplane. Okay? So, like I said, when I listened to it, I saw a documentary about it, and they played that audio, and knowing that nobody heard from the plane after that, like every time they played that clip, it kind of gave me goosebumps. It was really, really creepy. Even though he doesn't sound weird. So yeah. Now neither pilot checked in with Ho Chi Minh, and there were several attempts afterward to raise them, but none of them were answered. Now, interestingly, okay, so you have your regular radar, which is primary radar, right? And that's pinging off objects that are in the sky, just sound waves or whatever. Now, air traffic control systems, they have something called secondary radar, and that comes from a transponder signal. So these transponder signals are transmitted by the airplanes, and this signal has all kind of shit about what airplane this is, what its altitude is, blah, blah, blah. So it has all this info that it conveys. Now, 5 seconds after this airplane crosses into Vietnamese airspace, on the air traffic controller's computer, evidently, the little symbol that represented that transponder from that airplane disappeared off the screens. 37 seconds later, the entire airplane disappeared from the secondary radar. This was 1:21 a.m., 39 minutes after the plane had taken off. Now, interestingly, the air traffic controller that was working in Kuala Lumpur was apparently busy or didn't notice it. So they didn't notice the plane disappearing off the radar, which seems a little, but what are you going to do? People are going to do a shitty job. So he didn't notice that he or she, I don't know, that this plane had disappeared off the radar. Now, he finally did notice it. He's like, hey, where'd that fucking plane go? Now, but at this point, though, he wasn't alarmed because he's like, well, they were heading for Vietnamese airspace. They should have been in Vietnamese airspace by now. So now it's, now he's on their air traffic control, and that's probably just what happened. So they didn't really think anything about it. Now, meanwhile, the air traffic controllers in Vietnam airspace, they actually saw the plane come into Vietnamese airspace and then disappear off the radar. Now, they got alarmed, but I think that there was some kind of miscommunication, because what they were supposed to do, the rule was, if an airplane gets handed off from Malaysian to Vietnamese airspace and they didn't check in after 5 minutes, they were supposed to call the air traffic controllers in Kuala Lumpur and be like, hey, what the fuck? This plane has disappeared. So they did seem to know that, but they didn't do it until like 20 minutes later instead of 5 minutes. So they like waited like too long. I'm not really entirely sure why. Now, to their credit, they did actually try to contact the airplane to see where it had gone, but they were not successful in doing that. So after they couldn't contact the aircraft, that was when they contacted Kuala Lumpur and said, hey, your plane just disappeared. And this was 18 minutes since the plane had disappeared from the radar. Now, at this point, it just seems like I'm not really sure what happened here other than people just maybe not being super competent at their jobs, or there being miscommunication, or, you know, just general chaos and stupidity. Who knows what's going on? I don't really know. But apparently, I guess that Kuala Lumpur, their Aeronautical Rescue Coordination Center, should have been notified within the hour, like that this plane had disappeared. But for whatever reason, no one notified them until 4 hours later. As I said, it doesn't seem like it was anything sinister. It just seems like everyone was like super disorganized and miscommunicating, and maybe somebody else thought that person had done it and you thought he had done it. I don't know. It just kind of seemed like that. It's kind of situation. So they actually were not able to mobilize a rescue effort, an emergency response rather, until 6:30 in the morning, which is actually when the plane was supposed to be landing in Beijing. Now, it's interesting because I was watching, like I said, I watched a bunch of documentaries on this, and one guy that was talking was like, we were still kind of hoping that the plane would that we had just lost track of the plane and that it would land in Beijing as normal. But obviously when that didn't happen, then everybody kind of started flipping out. So at this point, they start mobilizing ships and airplanes to go out and look for where this plane went. 34 ships, 28 aircraft from several different countries from around the region. And they started looking in the South China Sea because that's where the plane was. That's where they lost contact with it. So they just assumed that right after the captain had checked in, there had been some kind of catastrophic, like the plane just fucking fell out of the sky or something like that. That's what they were assuming, which is normally what you would assume in this situation. So they said, well, that's where we need to go look, like the last place where the radar pinged. So that's where they started looking. But they could not find it, obviously. Now, for a long time, for several days afterward, they weren't really sure, like, what the fuck was going on. Like I said, the first assumption, as it would be, was that as soon as it had disappeared off radar, as soon as they lost contact with it, that something catastrophic must have happened and that it just, like, fell in the ocean or whatever. So that's kind of the assumption that they were operating on. But a couple days later, they get some records, like, from primary radar, and they got those from the air traffic control computers, and they found out from this. So this is like a few days after the disappearance. They found out from radar shit from the computers that what had actually happened was that the plane, very, very shortly after it had last checked in with the Malaysian air traffic controllers, and they said, hey, call Ho Chi Minh and we're going to hand you off now. Only a couple of seconds after that happened, the plane took a very, very sharp turn to the southwest, flew back across Malaysia, and then did like a banking turn around Penang, which is an island on the other side of there. And then it started flying northwest up the Strait of Malacca and out towards the Andaman Sea. And then after that, it was out of radar range. Now, this whole maneuvering of it turning, like doing a hairpin turn back across Malaysia and then doing the bank and then going back up, that took about an hour. So the first thing that they thought was that, okay, so turning a plane that sharply, that's not autopilot. Autopilot can't do that. So they said a person must have done that, because you just can't, an autopilot can't do a turn that sharp. So a person must have been at this. So the first thing they thought was hijacking, right? Which is the first thing they would think of. So basically, okay, at this point, as I said, they kind of know where it headed, but they don't know where it ended up. I mean, they're pretty sure, because they have no idea where this plane is now, that it crashed. I mean, obviously, but they don't know why. They don't know why it was thrown off course so severely. They don't really know anything about that. Now, at this point, so everybody around, particularly Australia, I think they were kind of like at the forefront of, investigating this. It was kind of a joint effort, the Australian authorities, Malaysian authorities, Chinese authorities, and also they had the FBI in there coming later on and, try to help out and everything too. So the Malaysian authorities, though, were kind of not real forthcoming about what had happened. Like I said, I don't think it was necessarily because I know that the reason that there are so many conspiracy theories about this is that the Malaysian government were kind of secretive about it. But I think the reason for that might have been that, as we'll find out later, what probably happened with this shit was that they either didn't know what caused it and they didn't want anybody to know that they didn't know, or they thought it was like embarrassing. You know what I mean? And particularly in the, when the plane first vanished and then they had problems of like, it being like several hours before anybody kind of reported it. And it took like, 4 or 5 hours before anybody even got like mobilized emergency services to go out there. And that kind of made them look like incompetent. And I think that they didn't really like that very much. So I think that was maybe more the issue, more than it being any kind of like big cover up or conspiracy theory or anything like that. But they were actually very, very secretive. However, despite their secrecy, satellites and shit like that are kind of global, and everybody can kind of, people can kind of access those that aren't enthralled to any kind of Malaysian officials, right? So what they found out was that after they had the radar information that showed that the plane had taken a hard turn to the southwest and that had gone particular, and then they kind of lost track of it. But apparently there is something, and I don't think, well, they probably know now, but I don't think that airline pilots knew at the time. But airliners have a thing where they send kind of like, they link up to geostationary satellites every half an hour with information about where they're at, what their altitude is, and just like various information so they can keep track of like where the planes are, just in case something bad happens. So I don't think at the time, pilots did not know about this system because it just kind of happened automatically. So by going into that information, they found out there was a satellite in the Indian Ocean that was operated by a vendor in London called Inmarsat, and it showed that the plane, MH370, was still flying for 6 hours after it disappeared off the radar because it kept pinging that satellite. So by following those pings, they could determine where the plane had gone and where its most likely location was when it inevitably ran out of fuel, which is what they think that it did. In case you're wondering, this little thing with like pinging with the planes with the satellites, that's called a handshake, which I thought was adorable. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. But yeah, so I said the pilots didn't know about it because it just happens automatically. But that's how they knew where the plane had ended up, and the fact that this plane didn't just like fucking crash into the ocean or disappear. It actually flew for a really, really long time and probably flew until it ran out of fuel. I believe it had enough fuel for about 7 hours and 45 minutes worth of flight time. because the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, which it took a couple times a day, I think was only 5 hours, 5.5 hours, something like that. So it had like that fuel and like some extra fuel. But as far as I know, it had like 7 hours and 45 minutes worth of fuel in it. Now, okay. Now there had also been 2 satellite phone calls made to the plane. Neither of them were answered. Now this was kind of after people on the ground were trying to like contact the plane, and the phone did ring like in the plane, but nobody picked it up. Now, so basically what happened was that from all the satellite information and all that kind of crap, they were able to do what they called like an arc. So there's this one arc, which is the last one before the plane like disappeared off of the satellites thing. So they're like, okay, well, in this area, this is probably where the plane went down, right? Now, they have searched around that area, but it's a huge, huge, huge area. And like I said, the weather is shitty and everything like that. But they're just saying that's probably where the rest of the plane is.
Yeah, and here's something else I wanted to say. Just because a plane hits the drink in a certain area, that doesn't mean where that plane is. Because water is like the sky. It's hydrodynamic. Pieces of that fucking plane, if it's deep enough, will kind of like soar through the water for miles, and it'll be scattered in different directions everywhere. Same thing happens when a ship sinks. It can sink on one area of the surface, but it doesn't hit the ground or the surface of the ocean until miles away sometimes.
And the thing about it, too, is that now, with the technology we have nowadays, they can actually do drift analysis if they know, the currents and everything, right, and the weather and shit like that on that day, which they do, obviously. They can come up with the most likely place, like where the shit is, like where it went.
With something like an aircraft, it's all aluminum, it's weak. It's going to hit the water and break apart into a bunch of pieces. And it's going to end up, the wing spar is going to break. You're going to have one wing, probably. You probably have one wing go one way and another wing go another. Well, a wing, just one wing on its own without the fuselage of the plane, can probably travel quite far underneath the water. Because it'd kind of glide, swirl around, do crazy shit. That thing might end up hitting, if it's deep enough, might end up hitting the surface or hitting the ground 10 miles away from where it hit the surface of the water. It's just going to be a general area.
Sleazy B says, how can it disappear from radar but still ping off a satellite? Because the transponder, which was the thing that was, making it come up on radar, had been turned off.
Finding that thing's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard to find that plane.
What about the black box? They have not found the black box. They haven't found the plane.
Yeah.
They found little pieces of what they think are part of that plane, or are most likely part of that plane, but the bulk of the plane has not been found. None of the bodies have been found. The black box has not been found. Nothing.
They'll never find that plane.
I mean, they might, but
that plane's in so many pieces.
It could be. It's weird because I saw a couple different documentaries about it, and we'll get to it, but it depends on how it hit the water, like whether it was in big, because some people think, like, depending on one, that it was maybe in a few big pieces. Yeah. And they have some evidence to back that up. And then some people think, well, maybe it was just like smashed into a zillion pieces. Yeah. And I don't know. We'll get into that. But like
a wing can catch it can hit the earth. It can hit the surface of the water, and a wingtip catch a wave or catch the water and send that thing into a cartwheel, and once that happens, it's just fucking disintegrated. I've seen it happen on video.
Yeah, there's some like really, really disturbing.
The water is nothing to fuck with. At high speeds, it's like a solid.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with something like an aircraft. It's just aluminum, and aluminum is light. And most of that plane is hollow. It's fuel and passengers mostly. It doesn't weigh much for its size. Easy to tear that apart. Like a kite, really,
Yeah. Tila said, I just feel for the relatives of these people. Honestly, it's like some of the documentaries, a couple of them were Australian, and so obviously they're going to focus on, the few people that were from Australia or New Zealand that were on the plane and like their family members and stuff. But they did actually show footage of the people that were waiting to pick up the people, like in the Beijing airport, and they were just like freaking out. And I was just like, it was really, really upsetting, like, to watch it. Because can you imagine? It's just like when the plane disappeared off the radar, in the Beijing airport, like the plane, now that flight says delayed, right? And then they had to like come and tell everybody, it's like, hey, the plane's gone. We don't know where it's at. Can you fucking imagine? I can't imagine. So yeah, so from the pings off the geostationary satellite, they were able to determine that once the plane had turned, done that sharp turn and then kind of turned a little bit back up, that the airplane basically flew very straight and very level for a really long time, basically until it ran out of gas. And it was also going super fast. It was going like 600 miles an hour, which is faster than it would normally go, like on its flight, right? Now, after 6 hours, they think, because what they could do, like I said, from bouncing the shit off the satellites, they think that the plane went into a very, very steep descent, 5 times greater than a normal descent rate.
Picked up all that speed.
And then basically either like pretty much dived into the ocean. Maybe some shit flew off the plane before it hit. It doesn't look like the pilot tried to land it like normal. It looked like someone was flying the shit into the ocean on purpose.
Could have been terrorism.
That's the first thing they thought, but I doubt it.
Here's the thing
about
about
the more I like read about it, the more I doubt that.
Here's the thing about terrorism. If you're going to commit an act of terrorism, it's going to be a high-profile terrorism. You want everybody to know.
Well, that's one of the main reasons. I mean, there's other reasons too, but that's
right. You don't want to do a terroristic act and then it be mistaken for something else. You got to make it a signature move. So if it was a terrorist act, he probably would have radioed in and said it over the radio. I'm fucking down in the plane because you did this and that. Fuck y'all, motherfuckers, and then did it. You don't want there to be any gray area or anything, you know what I mean? So probably not terrorism.
Yeah, well, and like I said, that was the first thing you would think. You would think hijacking, but once more information started to come in, they're like, yeah, probably not. Like, for that exact reason. Well, there's other reasons too, but...
If you were going to hijack a plane, why would you... And you were going to crash it into the ground, why do that in the middle of nowhere in the ocean? You want to do that near the airport.
See, yeah, I have a theory.
You want to do that late in its flight and hit a target in the city near the airport.
Yeah,
now you're just wasting your time.
Saunders says, I think the passengers didn't know what happened, and I'm sure Jenny will explain why later. Yes, I will. That's the only good thing. That's what I was thinking, too. It's like, I kind of hope that it happened. I mean, I wish it hadn't happened at all, obviously, because it's horrifying. But if it happened the way they think that it happened, I'm just kind of glad that it happened like that, because I don't think the passengers knew what was going on. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying. So about a week after the plane disappeared, the Wall Street Journal published a report about these satellite transmissions saying, hey, what the hell? This plane disappeared off radar, which means somebody turned the transponder off and turned off and started going off course. And according to the satellite data, was kind of flying like for a really, really long time into the middle of the Indian Ocean, at which point probably it dived into the ocean, or it ran out of gas, one of the other two things. So the Malaysian officials were kind of didn't want to admit this at first, because like I said, they were very cagey. I don't think it was anything to do, because I know some people later on had conspiracy theories oh, they're covering up this, that, and the other thing. Oh, they shot the plane down, or they did this, that, and the other thing. I don't think that's the case. I just think they whiffed it and they didn't want to look bad. So they were just yeah, that's what happened. Okay, yeah. So it was that kind of thing. I think they were just embarrassed because they'd fucked it up, and they didn't want everybody to thinking that they were idiots. They didn't know how to do shit. I don't know. That's just my theory, but I'm just saying. But they finally did say yes, that's what happened. So that's kind of what we're going with now. Because everybody. The shitty thing about this though is that the searches, even though it seems like shortly after the plane disappeared, they knew that from the data, from the satellites and from, I think there was even a military radar that had picked the plane up briefly, they knew that the plane had deliberately flown off course, and they pretty much knew where it was going, or at least in the general direction. But they still let everybody spend millions and millions of dollars searching in the South China Sea, where they knew that plane was not, because they knew that that's not where it had gone. It had gone 6 hours away from that. So that was pretty shitty that they just like kind of let all these planes and ships and stuff, and like I said, spend all these man hours and all this money looking in the South China Sea when they knew that the plane wasn't in there. So I thought that was pretty shitty, because they did seem like they knew enough information to at least be like, hey, you're looking in the wrong place. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and I'm not going to, I know that it's really, really difficult. I mean, as I said, the ocean is a big fucking thing, right? And it's just like, one example they like to give, if you remember like Air France 447, which went down in 2009, and that was going from Rio to Paris, and they knew pretty much exactly where that plane went down, and it still took them 2 years to find that shit, like even with all the technology and everything that they had. So even if you know where you're looking, it's still really difficult to find, because all you can do is work on probabilities. And so that's why they have all of these computer models that it's just kind of like, well, you know, according to the current and according to how fast the plane was going and what angle it hit the water and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, they have all these factors that they have to put, but it's only probabilities. It might not be there. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, this is the most likely place, but that doesn't mean that's where it is. So, you know, that's kind of shitty. So they start looking, so they're doing all the surface water when they finally figured out, hey, maybe the plane's over here and like in the South Indian Ocean, and instead of over here where we thought it might have been, like along the initial flight path where it was supposed to be going. So after that search didn't yield anything. Like seriously, they found nothing. They didn't find like a single fucking, it's like there's some satellite photos and stuff where it's just kind of like, oh, maybe this is a thing, and so, but every single thing they investigated was nothing. So you know, they searched for like 2 or 3 months, like just in the surface waters, and nothing came up. They didn't find a single fucking stitch of that plane. Now, there were also a couple of like red herrings, because everybody got super excited because at one point they picked up these 2 like very faint kind of pings that sounded like they might be from like the black box or whatever, or the, you know, the cabin, what do they call it? The cabin voice recorder or whatever. And so they were like, oh, we found it. But then when they went to investigate, what?
I forgot my drink.
Oh. But then when they went to investigate, there was nothing there. It was just kind of like a false alarm. So everybody was getting really, really bummed and really, really frustrated about this. So a while goes by. It's kind of like, I don't remember if it was like quite a year, but I think it was like 14 months, I want to say. So after 14 months, there's this dude, and his name is Blaine Gibson. And I think he's American. He's like a lawyer, but he kind of fancies himself, and I don't mean this to sound derogatory, but he kind of fancies himself like an Indiana Jones type dude. He has a thing where he wants to go to like every country in the world, and he's like an adventurer and stuff. So he was really interested in this, in the disappearance of this plane, and he kind of looked into it, and he said, you know what, some pieces of this plane like probably washed up somewhere, and I'm gonna figure out where that shit is. So he actually did kind of look into it. I think he ended up going to like Mozambique and some places like that. And indeed, him and a couple other people did actually find some debris that they are 99% sure came from that fucking airplane. Now, the first one that they found, it was this piece of a plane. It was what they call like a flaperon. It's that thing that's like on the wing that goes up and down, like when you're, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
piece.
it's like a flapper aileron.
Yeah. It's one of those. And they found one of those, and basically it had like washed up on a beach in July 2015 in Réunion, I guess, which is a French-owned island. It's in the Western Indian Ocean. Now, this was actually where they found this piece of the plane, 2,200 nautical miles west of where they had been looking underwater. So again, you know, it was far away from where they were looking at first. So at this point, this guy Gibson and some other investigators and stuff started finding like little pieces of the plane. Now it's kind of like they're not. Some of the stuff they're like almost like 99% sure that it came from that. I think there's like 3 pieces that they're like 99% sure this came from that plane. The other ones they're like, this probably came from the plane, but we can't like say completely because there's a lot of Boeing 777s. But you know, so they're pretty sure that they found 20-30 pieces of it that have washed up on various beaches over the ensuing years. So as I said, July 2015 was the first piece, And then by October of 2017, they had found about 20 pieces of debris that they think came from this plane all along beaches along the Western Indian Ocean. So they also found later, this is like super creepy, they haven't found any bodies yet as far as I'm aware, but they have found stuff that they think like belonged to some of the people on the plane, like backpacks and purses and stuff. Like just every now and then they find it, and it's like, that's like super creepy. But you know, like I said, I don't know if they can entirely, because I mean, I guess the family could like identify, hey, that's, you know, my mom's purse or whatever, you know, so they can find that, because I don't think there was anything in the purse that they found or the backpack. I think it was empty because it had been in the water for so long. What are you doing, Pokey?
She came up and pulled on a chair. What, you want to go somewhere?
Where you want to go, Poke?
Can we go outside?
No, it's too bright
Too
out.
early?
It's
Okay.
too like hot out,
Okay.
I would think. It's only 7:10
She's
p.m.
trying to get me to do something. Trying to get me to do something?
Yeah. She's been like real attention seeking today.
Yeah.
She came up earlier. I was trying to watch a movie on my other laptop over there, and she kept coming up and like sitting on it. So finally I had to move this laptop like over here into my lap, and then she just like went and fell asleep on the desk, snoring and stuff while I was like watching a movie. But yeah, so the fact that the plane itself and none of the bodies have been found means that, you know, obviously everybody's going to come up with some crazy ass conspiracy theories, which I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of other evidence, like from the, you know, satellites and everything like that. But they know where the plane went to. Just the fact that they haven't found it yet, and they're not entirely sure. You know, like I said, the ocean's a big place. And as I mentioned earlier, it could have been that it just ran out of fuel. If it just ran out of fuel and kind of like glided, I guess, or went into a death spiral or whatever, that would be much different than if somebody deliberately dove it into the ocean. So they're still trying to like decide which of those scenarios was the case. Oh, hey, look, Pookie's on the show. Pookie's on the show. Now, so let's talk about some of these weirdos that are out there like thinking that they know what happened to this shit. So there's this one woman. She's a British lady, and she has a blog, and her name is Saucy Sailoress, because of course it is. She's also a tarot reader, so take that with whatever you want to take it with. Now, she claimed that she was on vacation in Southern Asia with her husband, and they were on a sailboat, and she says that on the night the flight disappeared, they were in that same area, and she said she saw what looked like a cruise missile coming at her. And then she saw that it was actually an airplane, and that it was with the cockpit all lit up, and that it had like a weird orange glow about it, like it was going super fast, and it was like had all this smoke behind it. And she said that at the time she thought that it was on a suicide mission against a Chinese naval fleet, which was out at sea.
Okay.
Now, she claimed, again, allegedly, that, oh, I didn't even know about that flight disappearing until like a day or two later, and then I put the two things together in my head, and so that she like blogged about it. But I think it turned out later that it's like she wasn't even in the part of the ocean where the plane disappeared, so she maybe just like saw some crazy shit and like, or just made it up. I don't know.
Made that shit up.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Just made that shit up. There's another dude who's Australian, and this is your guy that's trying to cash in on shit. He says that he knows where the plane is. He says he found it on Google Earth, and it's intact, which is doubtful because they found some pieces of it. And that it's in shallow waters. But he says, I'm not going to tell you bitches where it is until you crowdfund my expedition on Kickstarter. So he's trying to crowdfund it. And can you fucking imagine if one of my relatives, if one of my relatives had been killed in that plane crash, I would pay to fly to that dude's house and punch him right in the fucking balls.
That's a grift there.
No shit.
Grifting.
I mean, come on. Oh, I know where the plane is. I can
Yeah.
see it on Google Earth.
Yeah.
Fuck off. No, you don't. And it's all in one piece. It definitely isn't
No.
because, like I said, they found some pieces of it. So,
I suspect that thing disintegrated on impact. It cartwheeled.
I think probably it did. Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
You know, depending. It's it crashed for sure. Whether it crashed, you know, deliberately or he just ran out of gas, we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, there's also been, and this is actually a conspiracy theory I've heard too, that the plane's actually intact in the Cambodian jungle, or in a river in Indonesia, and like all the people are still alive. That's another thing, and it's just been like covered up, which seems far-fetched. But I have heard that one before. As I said, some people said it flew into a time warp. 30 years from now, it'll land somewhere that's just fucked up. Or it got sucked into a black hole, kidnapped by aliens. I've heard that one too. There's also a conspiracy theory that the plane was going to attack the American military base on Diego Garcia, but then it got shot down. Why they would do that passenger plane, I don't really know. Some people said there's a conspiracy theory going around that the captain was found alive in a Taiwanese hospital and had amnesia. That was one that kind of went around Asia, and I think I've kind of heard that one over here as well. That one, take this. I was reading an article in The Atlantic. There's a really good article in The Atlantic about this. And they said, well, that story actually came from a website that also reported that there had been like an American tourist and 2 Sherpas who were raped by a Yeti. So, that's just kind of like, that's the kind of shit that we're dealing with here. Now, this is another common one that I've seen a lot of times too, is that there's some conspiracy theorists that think that the Russians stole the airplane in order to create a distraction from Crimea being annexed, which was going on at that time. But everybody's saying, and they said, oh, well, the plane actually was flown to Kazakhstan, which is where it would have gone if it had turned north, but the satellite said it turned south. So, but this guy and like people that believe this conspiracy theory think that, oh, all the data was faked, which, again, far-fetched. That would be super, super hard to do. Come on. Like all the fucking, from all these different satellites and all these different that don't like even cooperate with each other, fuck off. Just people, I don't know, man. Conspiracy theorists make me so mad. It's just kind of like, they don't even like think about the shit they say. They just like this. They just like the story.
That's grifting.
I mean, they just like the story, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Fourth Showdown says clearly the Langoliers were responsible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might as well have been. I mean, holy shit. So, as stupid as what?
I'll tell you what, man. Drinking this grape juice based drink,
yeah,
makes you want to get some of that Pinnacle fucking peanut butter vodka.
Did they even have that in the liquor store? Did. I didn't notice.
No, you didn't have it in the liquor store, but the Pinnacle makes it.
Yeah. Well, Pinnacle makes like all the flavors. They probably make fucking pickled herring flavor.
Because we had that before, remember?
Yeah.
We had that shit at the fucking bar.
Yeah.
It was fucking Pinnacle peanut butter on the rocks with fucking grape juice. It was peanut butter jelly sandwich. That shit was so good. Fuck.
Mango says never trust
Sandra, if you can get fucking Pinnacle peanut butter vodka, go ahead and do it, man. It's cheap here. It's probably expensive in Germany. Man, that shit's good.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can do a lot with it,
Yeah. The whipped cream is better, but more versatile. But I was sitting here drinking this going, man, I want a peanut butter jelly vodka.
I like the whipped cream, but it gets a little sweet after a while.
You got to know what to mix it with. And you got to know.
Even if you mix it with good shit, it's like, after
after
2 or 3 drinks, it's like, it just gets too sickly. So, so as stupid as a lot of these fucking theories are, no, all of that fucking satellite thing wasn't faked or spoofed. I think that's what they call it. It's the spoof scenario. That's what they call it. Where, that was all just like intentionally planted, like to make it look like the plane went somewhere else, like to throw them off the trail.
Oh, thank you very much, Nicodemus. He said, "Woo!"
Thank you, Nicodemus. Oh my goodness.
And then Sandra jumps in, man. I bet if you can make a creamy peanut butter liqueur yourself, like coffee liqueur Bailey's.
Ooh.
Yeah, something like that's probably out there.
It's gotta be. I even like that peanut butter whiskey, to be honest with you.
Germany should be easy to order anything from anywhere online, man, but I would recommend the Pinnacle which is cheap. It's an inexpensive vodka. Get a big bottle of that Pinnacle. It tastes fucking great. Pinnacle peanut butter. Yeah. Put it on the rocks, throw some down. Fucking grape juice on it. Maybe salt around the rim. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, that's always kind of
Yeah.
Honestly, I like that peanut butter vodka. Peanut butter vodka is good with Coke.
Yeah.
And with a lot, like, kosher salt around the rim. It's like
Yeah, that's
really,
good, too.
really
It tastes like a O. Henry bar.
Or like a Payday.
Like a Payday bar, which is a
Yeah.
candy bar here.
Super peanutty.
Yeah, super peanut and fucking kind of caramel taste. Good.
Sleazy B says, Tam, my brother made cinnamon flavored moonshine once. What did it did it taste like Fireball? Because blech. I love cinnamon, but I don't really
Fireball
like
would sell well in Germany.
Fireball just gives me heartburn, like instant heartburn.
Fireball is Americans' version of fucking Jägermeister. Or Goldschlager.
That shit's
it's like
shit's also
Goldschlager.
gross.
Yeah,
That shit's
American
also
Goldschlager.
I've had a shot of it every now and then if somebody buys me one.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that shit myself.
I like Goldschlager.
I know you do.
Yeah. And mix it with other things in shots.
Like I said, anything like that. I love cinnamon, like in its natural form, but anything cinnamon flavored, like cinnamon liqueurs, like Red Hots, anything like that, just gives me instant heartburn. I don't know why, but it does. Which sucks. I love cinnamon toast though. Just saying.
Nicodemus says, hey Tom, I'm PCSing to Korea. Any tips? Go check out fucking Hooker Hill. It's not as good as it was back in my day, but I don't know where you're going to be deployed. I mean, you got to give me the right camp. If you tell me what camp it was, and my information's old, man. I was there in the early 90s. I mean, my camp is now, which is Camp Greaves, is across the fucking river, Imjim River, is now like it's part of a tour. My camp is a fucking, what do you call it? A fucking
Tourist attraction?
It's a tourist attraction. Well, it's a historical fucking monument. That's where I was, right there on the DMZ. So it's not like it was, you know. I liked it. Big ass fucking spiders. But and it's cold, man. Cold in the winter.
Spiders. We got big ass spiders in Florida too.
Oh no, they were bigger over there. They were their asses on them things were the size of a fucking ping pong ball.
Yeah, I've seen ones like that.
They were
My
fucking
grandpa's
hanging
house
from webs all the time. We were walking through them and fighting them and
it's all right.
clouds
Spiders
and
are our
mosquitoes.
friends.
Yeah.
If there were no spiders,
Yeah.
this world would be ass deep in mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Just saying. Spiders are your friends. Don't squish them. But yeah, so, all right, so where was I?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what they do know from all of the information they have of where this fucking plane went, they know for sure that the route that it took was deliberate. So the question then becomes, was this terrorist, like was it a hijacker, or was it a member of the flight crew going rogue? So, because basically those are the only two things. Because like I said, the turn that it took, shortly after it vanished from radar, they said there's no way that a person had to do that. There was no way that the autopilot did it, or it wasn't malfunction, the weather was good. There wasn't anything else conceivable that could have happened that would have caused that to happen. Thank you, Zach. Hey, y'all, what's up? Tom, I think your life story would make an awesome movie directed by myself, of course.
Yeah, but you couldn't make this movie until after I died, though. See, that's the problem. Now, fucking Sleazy B is talking about moonshine because he's fighting with other people that don't know what moonshine is from other countries. This is part of American culture. Moonshine is almost damn near pure alcohol. It's made out of corn, usually made out of corn. Same thing was in Brazil called cachaça. It's like 180, 190 proof. Strong alcohol. Not much flavor. It's distilled. It's just a way of getting fucking drunk. But moonshine has become an art recently. Back in the Prohibition era of the United States, moonshine was just something. It was quick and dirty. It was just something to fucking give to people. You can mix it with punch and other drinks and make it alcoholic, and you would get fucking fucked up on it. It was very strong. But nowadays you get craft moonshine. Some of it's even flavored, like
Well,
what he's
yeah,
talking
everybody's
about.
super into like making their own beer
Yeah.
and wine and all that kind of stuff nowadays.
ATF or Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms laxed up a lot on making your own liquor. You can make your own. I think you're just limited to how much you make, and you can't sell it. That's the thing. But you can make your own alcohol at home in the United States. I just don't think you can sell it.
Yeah, but you can give it away.
You can give it away. Yeah. Yeah, but they got people making wine or beer at home, and you can make all that. You can distill alcohol at home. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if like state laws are different, but I don't think any state has a.
They don't care anymore.
I don't think they have.
They don't care anymore. You can buy making.
Like I said, as long as you're not like starting your own fucking liquor company like without a license.
Yeah, you can't sell it.
Right.
But no, they got beer kits and wine kits and distillery kits and everything you can buy online here in the United States and just make your own brew. Yeah.
Zach says, also, if there was a movie about you, who would play you and your dad? Can any actor reproduce his voice?
All right, first of all, my
And only if
dad would
Tom's
be
dad
played
talks
by
about
Lee
turkey.
Majors. A miniature Lee Majors.
Oh my God, that would be good.
Yeah.
Lee Majors was in Ash vs. Evil Dead,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
he?
my dad would be
He played Bruce Campbell's dad.
Yeah. My dad would be Lee Majors. He doesn't look like that, but it's that same mentality. I would be played by Tom Cruise. Yeah.
You think?
Because Tom Cruise, yeah, of course.
Why do you think that? You don't look anything like Tom Cruise.
Who would play me then? We're about the same age. Who would play me?
I don't know. I'd have to like look at. I'm not real up on my actors, so I don't really know. Not real up.
It depends on what age that the person has to play me. You know.
Well, somebody has to play you at like all ages
At
because
all
it's your
ages?
life story.
Well, then it
who's
would-
going to play Baby Tom,
yeah.
the kid that played the
Yeah.
Damian in The Omen, but he's
No.
like old man now. Because that's what you looked like when you
No,
were a
the
kid. You look
Damian
like
from The Omen is my age.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
He was maybe like.
They need to find
a
another
year-
kid that looks like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like nowadays.
That's how I looked. I looked exactly like that.
Yeah, somebody said who would play me. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've thought about that like lots of times, but I don't know. I can't think of like any actors. I'd be really fucked if like somebody asked me that like on a live show or something. Oh, like right now. You know what I mean? If I was ever like real famous and somebody asked me that, I'd be like, shit.
Brad Jones says, Tom and Jen, look into Dr. Joseph Lang.
Oh, he's trying to tell me that like the CIA or somebody like crashed the plane like just to kill that one person.
I doubt it.
I don't think
I
that's
doubt
what
it.
happened. Well, honestly, like I said, I'm getting into like what I think happened.
The
and
CIA CIA or anybody can kill anybody a lot easier than that.
Yeah,
It's
see,
very
that's the
easy to kill somebody.
This is another thing, and I've come up on this a couple of times in my true crime books, like some of the cases that I've written about, where there were these weird cases of like people dying in like weird, mysterious ways or whatever. And, you know, some people are like, oh, well, they were, you know, friends with a government official or something. So it was like the CIA bumped them off. And I was kind of thinking, you know, if the CIA was going to bump you off, they would just do it and it would totally look like an accident. Like nobody would even suspect. I mean, there wouldn't even be enough to like suspect that it wasn't an accident. Like, because they're not that incompetent.
No, if you go through...
The idea of like killing 230 odd people...
You attract too much attention.
Just, I mean, that really seems dumb. Why, I mean, you should just be able to, like, run them over with the fucking car or something. It's just like, Jesus.
It's a lot easier than that. You can have it like a team of 3 or 4 people. I'm going to tell you how it's done. You take 3 or 4 people, and you have to look at the target and see how they live. If they live in a building or go to anywhere high, the idea is to throw them off that building. That's the one thing you want to do. If they don't work or live anywhere around a building, you abduct them, you grab them, handcuff them, you put them in a trunk, you take them out somewhere to a thing, and you pop them in the side of the head with a pistol, leave the pistol there, dump a fucking suicide note. And the suicide note doesn't even really have to be convincing. You don't even need the suicide note. And if it's the CIA or these other, if it's the CIA or another important agency that did this, there's a motive for the police and the agencies to not investigate or to just close it saying suicide. Suicide.
Yeah.
The reason why the person was killed is that there was a motive to kill the person. So therefore, suicide.
I kind of feel like...
Yeah, a lot of homicide depends a lot upon the target, and if it's pre-planned and it's done in a fucking team, it's much easier to do. If it's a bad person or a person that the government wants gone, there's not going to be a fucking a stringent investigation. If it's the worst person to kill, and the hardest one would be a teenage white girl, there's going to be an investigation. Okay, just the way it is.
Yeah.
Is this a serial killer or whatever? If it's somebody in their 40s or 30s and they're fucking not liked by some old dude,
or they're not white,
no, that's not what it is. It's if they're on the wrong side of some powerful person inside the government, there's not going to be an investigation. A lawyer that you don't like who's fucking suing you or something like that. Just look at the body counts. And it's not just the United States, it's other countries too. Same thing was going on in Iraq and other third world countries. You go up against powerful people, they kill you, there's no investigation. Not a real investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like what happened here was... I don't think it was anything to do with terrorism. I don't think it was anything to do with... It was just like a very, very strange situation.
So you're saying the CIA downed the plane to kill one person? Nah. If they wanted that person dead, they would have killed that particular person, and you would have never noticed. You would have never noticed. There's no reason to...
Like I said, they've been doing
good
this
at that
for like...
shit.
Yeah.
They're very good at that.
That's kind of one of their things.
And
I'm not saying that they don't totally do that, because they do.
They do. Yeah.
But they're a lot better at it than, hey, let's kill like 230 something in like one of the biggest, and this was actually the most expensive like search for like a lost aircraft in history. So I don't really think they would go this splashy.
Now, they come in, if you're in a building, they come in with some kind of badges or some kind of story to talk to you, 3 or 4 of them. And they're having a good time. They might be approaching you as friends. They open a damn window. 3 of them grab you. 4 of them grab you. And 1 on each hand. And they throw you out the fucking window and leave the window open, and they just leave. There's cameras now. It's harder to do that, but that's the way it was. And even in the CIA manual, they talked about that.
Yeah.
So...
I always kind of, I mean, I'm not like giving anybody recommendations or anything, but I always thought like the best thing to do was like befriend the person and then, hey, let's go on a hike.
Well, yeah.
Up in the mountains, and then just go doot.
Well, that's the way.
Push them off and then be like, oh no, he fell off the mountain.
Intelligence agencies use mobsters, use organized criminals and shit like that to do what it is that they do. And they use the same tactics. And if you read true stories of how the Italian mafia, who they were really good, okay, how they killed people, it's just like Jenny talked about. They come at you as friends. They send friends, people that you know, to you. And you're relaxed, you don't even know it's coming. And they kill you. And they're trying to keep you from testifying. That's what it is. You know something, you did something.
Did that a lot.
They're afraid you're going to go to the cops. You don't even know the shit's... You think, hey, man, I heard they're coming for you. We got to get you out of here, man. They're going to kill you. Yeah, get me out of here. Those are the motherfuckers that are going to kill you.
Well, that's what I would do.
Right. Yeah.
I'm your friend.
Yeah,
you're safe with me.
Yeah, right.
Pop.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's the oldest tricks in the book.
Sure. And, you can see why people fall for it, though, because it's like...
Why would you think your friends would do it?
Yeah.
But that's usually who does it.
Yeah. Well...
And they usually don't feel good about it. It's just that they don't want to go to jail.
Yeah.
It's just part of that business. And you shouldn't have got into that business if you didn't know it would go that way.
I mean, like, you kind of knew what you were signing up for.
You knew what you were getting into.
Just saying.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you might have to, like, bump off your friends every now and then.
Right.
It's kind of a bummer, but that's...
They see it as self-defense. You got to go because they got you and we're next and...
Well, yeah, and they'll probably sell it to you as like,
a
lot of people are going to go to jail or get killed or something if we don't do this one thing.
Yeah, we got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, it's going to be that.
Goodfellas talked about that. That other one, a lot of the old classic gangster movies are spot on. It's exactly how they do it. And that's how the CIA does it. Or when they did do it. They don't do it. They'll have fucking somebody like MS-13 do it for them.
Well, I mean, it's always better not to get your hands dirty.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need
there
to
we
have
go.
like a
Yeah,
couple
hire somebody
things that
else to
like
do
a remove or two.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. Just got here. Is this the Chupacabra episode? Just kidding.
Yeah, it's a chupacabra.
You know what? I don't think we've ever done an episode on the Chupacabra. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Never did one. It wouldn't be that.
it probably wouldn't be that long.
Wouldn't be that long.
It's a mangy dog. The
Yeah,
end.
it's a dog.
Because you know how I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what the whole thing would be. All right, so okay, so at this point, all they know that the shit was deliberate. So like I said, knowing that it's deliberate, because they know it wasn't mechanical failure, it wasn't anything like that. So they said, so the two possibilities are either somebody, breached the cockpit and did all this shit on the plane, or a member of the crew went rogue and committed essentially murder-suicide. Because, like I said, there were 230 odd people on this plane. And it seems like it was brought down on purpose. So there were some theories, too, that another conspiracy theory was that somebody had controlled it remotely, like from the ground. But as far as anyone is aware, that technology doesn't really exist to any great degree. So that's not really, you know what I mean? And Boeing had been like, yeah, well, like we were working on something kind of like that, but nobody could do that like right now. So that's probably not something that could be done. So at this point, they know that something happened in the cockpit. Either the captain and or the first officer went rogue and decided, hey, I'm going to kill everybody on this plane and myself. Or somebody took over the cockpit from somewhere else. And this happened sometime between, in the 20 minutes between 1:01 a.m., that was when the airplane went up to its 35,000 feet altitude, to 1:21 a.m., and that's when it disappeared from the secondary radar. Now, at this point, they know that there was nothing mechanically wrong with the plane, at least as far as they could determine, because...
Chop that off?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Because during that time period, every 30 minutes, there's a satellite update, which goes to the airline's maintenance department. And it says how much fuel is left in the plane, what altitude they're at, what speed they're at, where they're at, like, the geographic position. It, relays all that information every half an hour, and nothing appeared to be amiss. So there were no mechanical failures, they weren't out of fuel, nothing like that. So it was nothing malfunctioning at that time period, but something nevertheless happened within this 20-minute time period. So what they're thinking, because of what we said earlier, like I said, the first thing they thought of was terrorists. Like somebody had breached the cockpit and for whatever reason turned off the transponders, turned off all the communications, and then just flew the plane to the middle of the Indian Ocean for whatever reason and then crashed it. Not really sure. But for one thing, this particular aircraft, and most other aircrafts of this kind have not only these big reinforced doors, but they also have like cameras like outside. So you can see if somebody's coming into the cockpit, like you can see who that is, like the pilot and the co-pilot can see it. So if somebody had tried to breach the cockpit, you would think that there would have been some kind of like distress signal, like, because they would have had ample time, like the pilot or the co-pilot would have had ample time, because it's just like a little button and it'd be like, hey, mayday, like somebody's trying to get in this shit. Some people said, well, maybe it was terrorists, maybe they were stowaways, like maybe they kind of like, were in the cargo hold and they like came in through a fucking, hatch in the floor or whatever, which possible, but again, unlikely. It just seems like it would have been too difficult, and by the time that they would have done that, then if that was indeed the case, then either the pilot or the co-pilot would have had ample time again to contact somebody with a mayday, kind of alert, and that didn't happen. The fact that the pilot gave a message saying basically, good night, this is this plane, and then just went off the radar like that, seems to me to suggest that this is probably a case of the pilot going rogue, not in a terroristy kind of way, in a murder-suicide kind of way. And I kind of feel like that's probably what most of the evidence to me points to. I don't think anybody else got on this plane. I don't think anybody got into the cockpit. That doesn't really seem to be the case. And I just don't see any other way. And I don't, I hate to like cast aspersions on a dude that's dead now. Because, his family's still around and stuff. But I kind of feel like maybe this dude, the pilot, he just decided, I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to take everybody out with me. And I kind of feel like that's what he did. So, and that's what most experts kind of think happened too, because there really doesn't seem to be any other. Once you rule out terrorism, because they know for sure that this all was done on purpose. Once you rule out terrorism, and they're pretty sure that wasn't the case, because like I said, not only would it have been too difficult, there were no distress calls, blah, 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 but no one has ever taken, no one's ever taken credit for doing it, which is kind of the whole point of terrorism.
Killing yourself and going rogue isn't terrorism. It's a big difference.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't think this is terrorism.
I said earlier on in another show, and this is something that happens a lot with soldiers, and it happens to soldiers in every fucking war. It's a lot easier to die in a group than it is alone. Could be that a person who wanted to kill themselves maybe could only muster up the courage if they weren't alone when they did it. There's a possibility.
And the thing about this guy is that I kind of feel like,
I don't want to die, but if you guys all come with me, it's a lot easier. Ain't that some shit?
Which is fucked up.
That. But there might be a certain kind of psychology that's like that.
Well, and this isn't the first time that's happened either with an airplane pilot.
There were German infantry units freezing to death outside of Stalingrad in World War II. And they would they weren't getting supplies. They were fucking cut off. They were ordered to take Stalingrad. There was no way to get out of there. They were just dying one by one slowly from fucking cold, lack of supplies, and enemy action. They found the Russians, after the fucking battle, found entire fucking platoons of German soldiers had committed suicide in formation. So that means they stood there in a platoon formation and all at once, on a certain count, blew their own heads off. That's amazing when you think about it.
But like you said, it's actually
easier to do in a group.
I can totally see that.
Than to do,
because other people are going.
All your friends are all going with you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the peer pressure, and you're not alone. So mass suffering is a lot easier to deal with than solo suffering. So it could be that the pilot was in that mindset.
Yeah. Well,
you know what
I mean, no one knows because the dude's dead, but
right. Possibility.
I kind of feel like, as I said, all the evidence points to this being done deliberately. And the fact that it probably was not terrorists, as in there wasn't a third party that got into the cockpit, there wasn't, nobody took, credit for it or anything like that, leads me to believe that it was either the pilot or the first officer that decided, I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to take this whole plane with me. And they just found this really like creepy, weird way to do it. And because I don't see any other way that it could have gone. So let's get into what they think might have happened. So basically what they think happened from the time that the plane went off the secondary radar, which was the one that was transponder dependent. They think at this point, if it was indeed the pilot, Zahari, who was the one that was orchestrating this whole thing, then it's likely that the first officer had either been locked out of the cockpit, as in, hey, why don't you go get me some from the cabin, and then he leaves and then he locks him out, or he had overpowered him. I think the first thing is probably more likely because it's easier. just be easier for the captain to be like, hey, go get me a cup of coffee or go do something. And when he leaves the cockpit, the captain locks him out. And so I think he might have been the only person in there. So at this point, there were... the autopilot was switched off. They know that. Because the turn that the airplane made to the southwest was like a hairpin turn, honestly. And they said autopilot couldn't do that. That had to be manually controlled. So they know that somebody was flying the plane. Now, at this point, they think that whoever was flying the plane deliberately depressurized it.
Huh.
And shut down the electrical system. So they're not really sure why that is. They know probably...
to keep people from getting in the cockpit.
Well, no, they know probably why he depressurized it, because there's a point too, and this is a little bit disputed, but not that disputed. The plane was, like I said, was cruising at 35,000 feet. The plane was depressurized on purpose, because there's like a button that you have to push, like the captain can push it. They said usually that's there for, like, if there's a fire in the cabin, for example, and, they have to deprive it of oxygen. So they'll push that, but normally you wouldn't. But somebody did. And then, allegedly, the plane made a very rapid ascent to about 40,000 feet, which was about its limit. They speculate that the captain not only depressurized the cabin, but also flew it upward really quick, because that would make the oxygen come out of the cabin quicker, which would kill everyone in the cabin. Because I don't know if you guys know, but the oxygen masks that come down, there's only about 15 minutes worth of oxygen in those. Because it's usually just kind of like, hey, it's just enough oxygen to get through like whatever problem that you're having. In the cabin, they have oxygen masks also, but there's several hours of oxygen in there, obviously, but in case there's an emergency. But so if you were in the cabin, what likely would have happened, they said, and this is what Sandra was saying earlier about maybe the passengers didn't know, was that what would have happened, they wouldn't really have noticed anything necessarily. Maybe the plane, there was some turbulence or whatever, and then the oxygen masks would have come down and they would have put them on. But after a time, especially if he flew upward very quickly, which would make the oxygen leave the cabin faster, everybody in the cabin would have basically had the mask on, and then they would have just gone kind of loopy, and then they would have just gone to sleep, and then they would have suffocated. So they're kind of thinking that the pilot, if this was a suicide mission, which is it indeed seems to be, that he felt bad and he didn't seem to want the passengers to be afraid that he was like going to crash the shit. And so he basically depressurized the cabin and flew upward really quick and just made everybody go unconscious, and then they died from suffocation without really knowing what happened to them. So he's basically flying around for 5 or 6 hours with a plane full of dead people.
Damn.
Isn't that fucking creepy?
Yeah.
That creeped me out so much. But they're not certain, but they're pretty sure like all the evidence points to that being probably what happened. So it's so weird. Like, why, like, if he wanted to kill himself, like, don't, I mean, this is just like a pro tip. If you want to like kill yourself, just fucking do it. Like, you don't have to take other people with you. Nobody
That's not what he thought.
I mean, those people were all innocent people. There was like kids on that plane. It's just kind of like, what the fuck, man? Holy shit. So it's just, yeah, but they think that's what happened. I mean, at least he made it so that they didn't suffer, I guess. But it's just kind of like, those people were just going on vacation and shit, man. It's like, or they were going back home. It's like, why? They didn't have anything to do with you.
Maybe he thought that would be less scary to him.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it was. I mean, because, like, the shit that happened later was certainly scary.
Yeah, maybe that's what he was thinking.
But, yeah, so I don't know if he did it because, I mean, allegedly. I said nobody knows. I don't know if he did it because he just thought, oh, well, they'll die and it'll be fine. Or if he just didn't want anybody fucking with his shit. Because if he decided, oh, I'm going to go rogue and I'm going to fly over here. And like some of the passengers would like flip out and be like, hey, the fuck, what are you doing? And would like try to like be like start getting unruly and shit. So maybe he just wanted to like...
He wanted to be alone, wanted to knock him off first.
Yeah, because that's why they think that he probably locked the first officer out of the cockpit as well.
We're halfway through. Did you want to run your program?
Because probably I should go to the bathroom too.
Very good.
Now, do you know how to... The commercial is about a minute long.
Which one is it?
It's this one, Strange Realities ad.
Okay.
So once it's done playing, just go back to main full screen, which is on the top.
All right.
Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
You can do it. You can do it.
I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
I'm going to do that shit right now.
In 2019, the first Strange Realities Conference took place in Nashville, Tennessee. The pandemic and turmoil the following year could not stop 2020's conference from thriving in cyberspace as a live streaming event. Now, for 2021, the third annual Strange Realities Conference will combine these worlds into a paranormal hybrid event, live in person in Nashville and streaming online. Join us in exploring just how truly strange our reality can be with an interdimensional lineup of speakers presenting unique and intellectual perspectives on magic, mysteries, and the paranormal.
Featuring Alan Greenfield, Dr. J. Michael Bennett, aka Dr. Future, Tim Banal, Soraya Ascath, Dr. Stephen Finley, Aaron Gullius, Amy Pachula, Brent Rains, Chris Ernst, Heather Mosier, Michael Hughes, Jose Herrera, Joshua Cutchin, Kiki Dombrowski, Nathan Isaac, P.D. Newman, Steven Snyder, aka Recluse, David Metcalf, Timothy Renner, Steve Stockton, and Ren Collier. Tickets available at strangerealitiesconference.com.
It's gonna be amazing.
See that shit? I'm like at the fucking... I'm at the damn com. Like on some shit out of Star Trek. Oh, they see that shit? Now she's ready to come back. Okay.
Well, what you think? I'm not gonna... I didn't fall in. I just had to pee. How long do you think I was gonna like hang out in there?
Okay, so we're back now.
Yeah, we're back. Did you play the whole ad?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that ad was shorter than I thought. So I felt like I felt like I wasn't like in there that long. But yeah, so I forgot to mention too that during the investigation when they were still like throwing around different theories, because like I said, they knew pretty much from the start that this had to be deliberate. So the first thing they were thinking was like terrorism, and they did background checks on every single person that was on that plane, including all the crew, including all the passengers, everything. Now, for a while... She
asked if we were going to that conference.
What? Oh, probably not.
Probably not.
I don't, I don't have... Wow, 13 o'clock as an ad. Yeah, we don't normally, but Adam Sane, like I said, he's a friend of ours from Conspiranormal. And,
Sandra's saying she forgot to look for my butt when I got up. Ain't that some it's all this sexism going on.
You're gonna
all this
have to
female
do it again.
gaze. All this female gaze.
Hey, we're just getting ours back after years and years and actually thousands and thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Being the opposite
The females
way.
getting the fucking gaze back, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just going to do... Although, I don't know. Dudes would probably just like it, so...
Of course.
I think ignoring them is probably like a better thing to do.
So women always want vengeance. They only just care about vengeance. That's it. They
Pretty much.
They're not...
We're a vengeance-based...
In this country.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this country.
No, everywhere.
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think so.
We're just some people are just quieter about it.
I don't think so.
David G says, take your shirt off, Tom. Yeah,
Right.
so...
No, if I'm taking my shirt off, y'all motherfuckers gotta pay me.
Come on, to be a piece of meat. You can do it.
Bitches gotta pay me. I don't fucking
Yeah, we need. You haven't even put a wig on yet.
I didn't even put a wig on.
We're like 2 hours in, and you haven't even put that shit, man. I'm more.
These bitches want
Well,
my time.
ooh, don't fuck up my shit.
Goddamn wig on.
We're more than like halfway through this fucking
All right.
case, and you haven't even like put a wig on.
We're gonna see which wig it's gonna be.
Which wig is it gonna be? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Considerably less sexy now. Okay.
This wig is not flattering at all, man. It's not flattering at all.
I don't know. It does kind of give you a certain
This
something.
fucking yeah, man. It's like I'm getting ready to listen to fucking Journey.
Yeah.
Molly Hatchet.
You need to buy a trailer and
Yeah,
like live
the
out in fucking Eustis.
Listen to that new Leonard Skinner album.
Sit in a plastic chair in the front and like drink some bud.
Yeah.
Listen to The Hog.
Yeah,
is a radio
see,
station
Victor's
I did
paying
on.
me to keep my shirt back on.
See, that's how it goes.
That's how it is. For $2, that shit's staying back on. You're right.
Oh my god. David June says, LOL, I already paid to see his pecs. It's up to y'all this time. Yeah, Xanada said
That shit was a long time ago, though,
Joe
man.
Dirt. That's what I called him when he first put that wig on. I called him Joe Dirt. I don't think you've ever seen that movie, have you? It's Vince Neil Ross, says Mago. Tila says, looking like Dirk Diggler with that wig on. Yeah, a little bit. Yes, thank you, Zach. For Tom to be a piece of meat, now dance, monkey, dance.
It's not enough money, man. Not enough money.
Well, how much would it take? How much would it take
Oh, man,
for you to just be a total whore?
Oh, shit, man. They're trying to fucking whore me out. Oh,
Well, I'm curious. It's a rhetorical question. Victor, look at Victor. Thank you, Jenny. Show us your ankles. You want to see an ankle? There's an ankle right there. Kind of.
Hold on.
I have bare feet. I never wear shoes. Oh my god. I'm trying to be serious about this shit. Look at
Trying
you.
to be serious about this shit.
All these like people are dead and you're like just being you and your
This
shenanigans.
is fucking perfect. You're like, fuck yeah, man.
Your
Fuck yeah.
shenanigans.
Fucking right, man. Fucking A. Fucking A, man. Where's my eye rock?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Dave.
All the money's fucking coming in now. Look at all that
Whore
goddamn
yourself
money.
for Zach.
Whoring myself out
See,
to Zach.
this is where
All these gay
this
men.
is where the money is.
Swear all, okay, and I'm gonna put the other shit on. Hold
See, you're trying to like get me to like show my boobs and stuff like that.
No,
Why don't you
no,
why
no,
don't you
no,
do
no,
some
no.
shit?
Yeah,
Why
I'm
don't you
doing
do some shit? Gramthars says, "Whoa, moob time." Moob time. Zach says, "What is happening tonight?" Yeah, well, you know, I wish I knew. I never know. I never know what's going on. You all right?
Falling down. Okay, there it is.
Are you really that much drunker than me?
Yeah. I got my glasses on. This is my professor glasses. I'm Professor Conan.
Oh, that's making you smarter.
It makes you smarter. Professor Conan.
I don't believe it.
Yeah. I'm gone.
Brad says, Tom is going DEFCON 6. Yeah, pretty much. 13 o'clock after dark. Oh my god.
Oh, everybody's
Thank
fucking...
you, Tila. Look at those Jenny toes. Look at those Tom nipples. Yeah, ew. Oh my god.
All right,
This
people.
just went from like 0 to 100 in like a second. I just went to the
all that
bathroom
fucking
and
money.
look what happened.
Look at all that goddamn
Like,
money.
what happened? Like I said, I'm trying to talk about a serious topic, and you're like fucking it up.
Right.
Norwegian death metal, Tom. Nice feet. They're not. They're tiny. I have tiny
flat feet.
I have tiny, flat, wide feet.
Flat little feet, yeah.
My feet are so ugly.
Everybody's got ugly feet. Very rare to get
That's
fucking
true.
ugly feet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's too much to trouble to like get this up into the camera range.
Yeah.
I'm not that limber anymore. But yeah, so are you done? Or are you gonna put a shirt back on?
I'm gonna put a shirt back on right now.
What are you doing?
Put my shirt on.
You're just like, you're very distracting. So
Go ahead, do the show.
yeah, Tom totally has a Danzig thing going on. Tom is the lost member of Morbid Angel, sure. Yeah. So where was I? Where was I? Zach says, no, for real, Tom, you look great. May you continue on your tea journey.
Oh yeah, man. Fucking 6 months, I'm gonna look even better.
David, thank you, David June. Give us a couple death metal verses. You know any Slayer?
Yeah,
You know any Slayer?
of course.
You know some Slayer.
Yeah. they want me to do some Slayer right now?
Yeah. Well, death metal. Doesn't have to be
I can't
Slayer.
sing no fucking death metal right now, man.
Come on, do a Cookie Monster voice. You know you want to.
Aggressive discipline and barbaric control. Thousands of people cannot be wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Oscar says, yeah.
You cannot hide the face of death. Aggression ruled by bloodshed.
Yep. Alright. So I kind of lost my place. Where was I? Yeah, so I was talking about, before, he started doing that shit, I was talking about a dude flying around at 35,000 feet with 230 something dead people in the back of the plane, because that really seems like what happened. He intentionally, allegedly, depressurized the cabin, and then maybe, allegedly, flew up really fast, so it would depressurize the cabin even faster, so that the oxygen masks wouldn't last as long, and everybody in the plane was just sitting there with their oxygen masks on, presumably, and they would have just gone to sleep and died. So, he's flying around with a plane full of dead people for several hours, which, like I said, I don't know, that creeps me out for some reason. Now, as Sandra mentioned earlier, only good thing about this is that if this is indeed what happened, which seems to be where the evidence is pointing, that at least the passengers didn't really know what was happening. Probably the most alarming thing that happened was that the oxygen masks dropped down, and they were like, oh, better put some oxygen masks on, and they put them on, and then a few minutes later they would have just fallen asleep and died, from hypoxia, which is what they call it. And they do that with pilots in the military and in the, if you're flying an airplane or whatever, they do like hypoxia tests on you. So they give you like that lack of oxygen thing. And it's almost kind of like you feel like euphoric, and then you just kind of like drift off into sleep and you go unconscious. And if it continues, then you'll die because, like I said, you don't have oxygen, but you're not really like aware of it. So I'm kind of hoping, if this had to happen, I'm kind of hoping that's what happened, because those people probably just like fell asleep and didn't know what was going on. So yeah. Now at this point, so the crazy shit, nobody's entirely sure. The thing about it is that no one's entirely sure because the cockpit had oxygen masks too, but they had a lot more oxygen than anybody in the cabin did. Like I said, in the cabin, it was like 12, 15 minutes. In the cockpit, it's more like a couple hours worth of oxygen, right? Because like I said, they have to fly the shit. So it's, it's lasts a lot longer in there. No one's really sure if he did the same thing to himself at some point, or I kind of feel like more evidence is pointing to him just like flying the plane for several hours and then deliberately diving into the ocean. No one's really sure if he just decided, hey, I'm out, and like he did hypoxia himself at some point, and then just let the plane run out of fuel and then to crash into the ocean. Or if he was with it, if he was awake all the way to the end and then said, I'm going to crash this bitch into the ocean.
What you doing, Pooh?
Well, damn, Pookie.
What you asking for?
What are you doing?
She just jumps like
She's like, hey, what's up?
You want to go outside? You want to go outside?
It's hot out there, though.
You want to go outside?
She's looking at him.
She's looking at the wig like, what the fuck is that?
Who are you?
Come here, let's go.
What is with your hair, Daddy?
You want to go outside?
Oh, she doesn't like that. Aw,
I'll put a collar on you. I'm gonna put a
She
collar
has
on
to have, you have to have your clothes on.
you. Yeah.
But,
Put a collar on me.
okay. Yeah, so the thing about it, it's like, it's crazy because at some point, and they didn't really find this out until later on, because like I said, the Malaysian government was they kept everything a little secretive because I think they didn't want to look like incompetent or like they didn't know what they were doing. So at some point the plane had like pinged on the military radar, and actually the people that were monitoring the radar at the time did actually see the plane, and they knew that it wasn't really supposed to be there, but they didn't really do anything about it because they said, oh, it's friendly. It's just a passenger plane, and they didn't really think anything else about it. So they didn't, that I'm not necessarily saying that, because I was watching a documentary and the guy was like, yeah, but even if like, yeah, we saw it and stuff, what were we supposed to do? Just like send jets up there to like shoot it down or whatever? And I don't know. They said, well, you could have at least like gone up there and like seen what the fuck was going on. Like you could have looked in the cockpit and see who was flying it, or you could have like, there's things you could have done, and they didn't do it because they were just kind of like, oh, it's just it's fine. It's probably all fine. And they didn't do anything about it. So, it's kind of shitty. But so basically this pilot, if the pilot Zahari was the one that did it, he basically kills everyone in the plane by depressurizing the cabin. So he's flying around for several hours, with a bunch of dead people in his plane. And then he arrives at some spot in the Indian Ocean and either deliberately crashes the plane into the ocean or he just lets it run out until it runs out of fuel, which it would have around that time. Because like I said, there's only about 7 hours and 45 minutes worth of fuel in the plane, which was pretty standard. Now, it's interesting because I just, I just kind of feel like this is just so fucking weird. This dude, oh, he's coming back here. I kind of like lost my place. I was going to say something and then I forgot. Another thing that's kind of pointing to this being a suicide mission that I think I forgot to bring up earlier was that after the plane, did its hairpin turn like off its route and then kind of went back down across Malaysia and then banked. The place where it banked was over an island called Penang. And Penang happened to be where Captain Zahari, that was his hometown. So it's almost kind of like he turned around, flew back over, and then he was like tipping his wing to like, hey, that's my hometown. Never going to see that again. Or like almost like he was saying goodbye to it. And then he went out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Now they think that the reason that he went out there, and I was watching, if you guys on YouTube, there's a dude named Dr. Grande, and he's like a psychiatrist, and he puts up like a shit ton of videos, and he's always like analyzing like different like mental health issues and stuff. And he's funny because he's really, really knowledgeable, and he has like a sense of humor, but it is like the driest sense of humor ever. So it's like he hardly ever like cracks a smile, but then like sometimes he'll say something that's just like super, super funny and it will just like crack me up, but he never like laughs, you know what I mean? Because he's like super like deadpan and it just fucking cracks me up. So he did a video about this case, kind of predicated on the theory that the captain was trying to kill himself and had decided that he was going to take this whole plane load of people with him for whatever reason. Now, his analysis was, one, that this is a guy that was probably like suffering from depression for whatever reason and was trying to get revenge against society at large, or at least felt like society at large was like against him or was like shitting on him or whatever. And so this plane load of people was representative of that. So he's like, well, I'm just going to take them out with me and it'll be a big thing. And the reason, and I saw a lot of other people say this too, the reason that he deliberately seemed to fly it in the middle of the Indian Ocean in this kind of like remote place where, you know, the weather was shitty and like not a lot of, you know, there wasn't a lot of like activity going on, was because he wanted to disappear. Like he wanted to not, he didn't want to be one of those guys that was kind of like, oh, I'm going to like take everybody out with me. They want to be like famous. It's almost kind of like he just wanted to take revenge against people, like society in general. But also he wanted to kind of fuck with everybody by saying, I'm going to go to like the most remote place I can think of and put this plane in there and like no one will ever find it.
So you're saying it's kind of like the, kind of like a bigger version of that kid who got into I'll call him a kid, he's about 30-something, had a promising future, gets up in his little single-engine fucking Cessna, radios in a UFO report saying that the UFO was right on his tail, and then you never hear from him again.
Yeah.
Do you hear about that one?
Yeah.
But pretty much, but because of the radar and everything, they know that he fucking crashed the airplane into the water.
Yeah, it's happened like more than once. And Zach actually just brought up, wasn't there a case in Germany a few years back where something real similar to that happened? Yeah, and actually that happened, I think maybe a year or two after this case. And it was a German dude. He was actually the co-pilot. He wasn't the actual pilot. And he did what they think happened in this, where he told the pilot, well, like he waited for the pilot to go to the bathroom. And then he locked the pilot out of the cockpit and then crashed the plane into the Alps. And killed everybody on board, 200-something people. So that was, and they think that it was because of depression. It was suicide. It's murder-suicide, which It doesn't happen that often, but it has happened before. So as weird as that is, like, I can't imagine what your mindset would have to be like to not only want to, like, kill yourself, which, like I said, isn't that weird, but to want to take a whole plane load of innocent people that don't have anything to do with you, and also to fly the plane very deliberately to a place where he was sure that probably it wouldn't be found. Because it seemed like everything that he did, if this was indeed what happened, like, they're not entirely certain, but this is what all the evidence points to. If this was indeed what happened, he very deliberately planned this. The fact that he turned the plane seconds after he was being handed off to another country's airspace, knowing probably, and he had flown this route many times, knowing that probably there would be some confusion and it would be a while before they would realize what had happened. So it seemed almost kind of like he knew that he was, going toward an area that was going to be that it was going to be really difficult to find it. It would be really difficult before they even started looking for them. He didn't know about the pinging of the radar from, like, the satellite. He didn't know about that, but he did very deliberately, it seems like, turn the transponder off so they couldn't track him. He didn't know that there was still a satellite tracking him, because most pilots didn't know that at the time. It just wasn't, it happened automatically. And like I said, I saw a couple documentaries, and they talked to other pilots that had flown Boeing 777s, and they said, yeah, in 2014, we didn't know that shit was going on either. We didn't know it was pinging the satellite every half an hour, because that was just like an automatic thing, and it wasn't anything to do with us. So they're like, if we didn't know it, he probably didn't know that either. But he was definitely trying to maintain radio silence and trying to stay. He was trying to go to a specific place. He was trying to go to a place that he knew that it was very unlikely that the plane would be found or that it would be intercepted or anything like that. It just seems to me that that's kind of like what he was doing. So what I forgot to mention earlier was when they were doing the background checks on all the people in the plane, because like I said, at the time they were kind of like, maybe one of the passengers was a terrorist and maybe he took over or whatever. And for a time, there was kind of a thing where they made a big deal about two guys that were on the plane that were Iranian. And they were like, and they had stolen passports. So they're like, maybe these two guys were terrorists, but they like looked more into them. And then they figured out that those two dudes, they only had stolen passports because they were trying to get the fuck out of Iran. They were trying to get to Europe. Yeah. And they were asylum seekers. And neither one of them had enough flying experience to have pulled off a stunt like this. Yeah. So the more that they kind of like look into the evidence, the more it seems like it was probably the captain that did that kind of shit, and he did it very, very deliberately. And I'll get into one thing that they found, which to me seems like a smoking gun. I'm not really sure, because what they did when they were, in the aftermath of the incident, which, like I said, they really did investigate. It wasn't just the Malaysian government, because, like I said, nobody would trust anything like coming out of there necessarily. But it was the Chinese government, it was the Australian government, it was the FBI, it was all kind of different, agencies like working in tandem, like to try to figure out what happened. So they did like background checks on every single person in the plane that was a passenger. They did all the crew members, everything, and they found like nothing. There was nothing weird about anybody that was in there. However, when they looked into Captain Zahari's like they searched his house and his computers and all this other kind of stuff because they wanted to see, was he a terrorist? Or, who knows? So they looked into his stuff, and remember how early on in the show I said that he was real into like aviation in general, and he had a flight simulator program that they said he played with it all the time. One of the flight simulations that he had done was pretty much the exact route that this plane took.
Who did this?
The captain.
The captain, yeah.
And it was on his computer, and he had done it like a month or two before. And they said, interestingly, he'd done like a bunch of different simulations on there. Yeah. But the simulations that he had done, usually you put in all the coordinates and then you let the simulation run. They said this particular one, he had put in the coordinates, but then he manually went through the thing like he was practicing.
Yeah,
kind of like allegedly. So they thought that was they said that's unlikely to be a coincidence. And that's why I say that this flight trajectory that he took pretty much ended up, and he even like adjusted like the fuel and everything, like he knew where the plane would run out of fuel. He knew where he was going. He wanted to go into the middle of the Indian Ocean where it would be unlikely that the plane would be found. And it just really seems to me like his mental state was of a kind that I'm going to fly to this place and that'll be, I don't know if it was like a fuck you, like you'll never find the plane and you'll never find all these people, which would be shitty. Or if he was just so fucked up that he's just like, I just want to disappear off the face of the earth and I don't want anybody to ever find me. You know what I mean? So it could go either way. Because everybody, like, they did background checks on him because he had worked for Malaysia Airlines for, like, decades, right? It's like, and he was a very senior pilot. He was very respected. Nothing weird in his record. They said he hadn't been acting weird lately. They even have, like, there's footage of him and, like, the passengers and stuff, like, before the flight, you know, where he killed everybody, allegedly. And he was just acting totally normal. Nobody said that he was acting weird or anything. So there was nothing in his past to suggest that. But the weird thing was that there was an official report done. They did a background report on him. And like I said, you know, he had a wife, he had 3 grown kids, he had like money, he had like a couple houses, he was doing okay, he seemed all right. But then it seemed like the Malaysian government put that out, like, oh, he had a spotless record, there was nothing to suggest, blah, blah, blah. But allegedly, other reporters that went into the country and talked to people that knew him and like family members and stuff, they said, yeah, you know, he was a good guy, like he seemed like a cool guy and everything. He was a little laid back and whatnot, but it's like lately his wife had left him and had moved into the other house. He seemed kind of sad. He seemed kind of lonely. There was a thing where, like I said, he was real active on social media, and they said that he had apparently become obsessed with these 2 real young Facebook or Instagram models, and he would like leave kind of nothing horrible, but like a couple of like, you know, vaguely sexual comments on their pictures, like several times, which were never answered. And one other person that like worked with him a lot said, you know, everybody, like, yeah, he was banging some of the flight crew, like, you know, the stewardesses or whatever, but everybody did that. But his wife knew about it. I mean, you know. Well, that's what this guy said. It's like, oh, there's all these beautiful young women, and you're just flying to other cities, and you just kind of have to do it. But
how old was this dude?
53. So it's possible, and like they've kind of speculated that maybe
hormonal, maybe
his wife had left him, and maybe he was like obsessed with these much, much younger women. Because I've seen pictures of the models that he was obsessed with, and they were like his daughter's age. Yeah, and he had kids like that age.
Yeah, but you know, scientifically, it's been proven though, guys are attracted to a certain age set. It doesn't change how old they are; it's about the same. And guys don't really kind of in terms of, because once a woman goes outside a certain age bracket, she's not in the market, basically. She's not interested. Doesn't matter who you are.
Tila said his wife didn't care. I think she did. I think she left, actually. Yeah. So apparently she didn't care. Or she didn't. I think she knew about it and she took off.
A lot of times a woman hits menopause, she doesn't give a shit. This is just like I was telling Jenny in Brazil, in the culture there. The wives... Brazil, when I was living there and growing up there, they didn't approve of divorce. You could have divorce, but that was like bad. Okay? Guys tended to keep their wives and their families. They would kind of unofficially break up with the wife, but you didn't divorce her. You know what I mean? You kept her as part of your family. You kept supporting her. And then they picked up younger girlfriends. The wives knew, but they didn't care. They were sick of fucking that dude. That's just, you know what I mean? It was the divorce was a bigger, in that culture, like a bigger fucking, I guess you could say, stigma than it was the whole fucking lover situation. And the woman was kind of free to do whatever she wanted, you know, she was free, you know. So it wasn't It wasn't a problem. But it sounds like this situation might have been something like that.
Maybe
He was in a loveless situation. His wife left him. He might have been going through it. 53.
Well, his wife might have left him because of that, though, because apparently he'd been like stalking these two girls online. Well, allegedly, like for a while.
That wife didn't give a shit. I'm telling you, she didn't give a shit about that dude.
Well, you don't know her.
It's just that, you know, you're gonna have guys in the comment section that'll fucking probably chime in. Once it gets to that point, the wife usually doesn't care. But the thing is that he's interested in these younger women, but there's no way he's gonna get that. Okay, which adds to depression, and then he's going through adrenopause. Life isn't what he thought it was. Depression kicks in. Motherfucker ends up getting suicidal. It sounds like adrenopause, which is like menopause or postpartum depression that women go through. That's what it sounds like.
Gramthars Hammer says, "My wife fucking rocks." By the way,
Yeah.
that's nice. That's nice of you to say, actually, and I'm not being sarcastic. That's totally legit.
Some women, as they get older, they fucking stay fun. Some of them don't. It just depends on what the situation is. But a lot of times, if you look at what the hell's going on, it's kind of a fucking, guess you could say it's not a real strict situation. There isn't a lot of jealousy involved, and it's just business at that point. Because, people in their 50s are not the same as people in their teenage years. I mean, when we hang out with the kids, they get jealous over fucking anything. Did you see that? It's kind of fucking funny.
Yeah, I saw.
You saw that shit? She's getting fucking jealous over nothing, over women that have blonde hair.
Who's an old lady now?
Yeah, who's like an old lady now, and fucking, they're like, that girl's fucking 60 now. What do you mean? He likes her. She's 60 now. She's gone. Fucking she. He.
Yeah, we were talking about something like a rock star.
Yeah, we're talking about a rock star. Him is Jeton Damone. He liked Jeton Damone, and she was jealous of Jeton Damone. I'm like, that woman's fucking 60 now.
Yeah, she's an old lady now, I think.
Okay, and the jealousy was that she was blonde. What are you talking about? Fucking Aaliyah's physically actually cuter than Jeton Damone. Jeton Damone was a fucking singer, but it's a different dynamic. But she didn't have anything to be jealous about. That girl's gone.
Yeah, but it's like, I will kind of chime in that says it's kind of like it's depressing that like whatever, because I feel like women are kind of in a situation where even if you're young and cute, like whatever you do. It's like the dude's always kind of like, oh, look at that blonde chick. And you always kind of feel like there's something wrong with you because it's like, oh, well, he likes that. Well, he doesn't like this now. Like he's bored of it. So it's kind of like,
that's not
there's
what's
always
going
kind
on
of that
now.
kind of situation.
He just...
That's how it comes across, though.
It's how it comes across to women. That's not how it comes across to other men because we don't have the emotions involved. We know what it is.
We don't have emotions, says Tom. I'm going to put that on a shirt, too.
I didn't say that. Yeah, we don't...
No, I said I'm going to put that on a shirt.
But we don't have the same emotions.
Tom says we don't have
we're not experiencing the same emotions women are experiencing. We see a guy doing that, we know what it is. We don't really think it's a big deal. What are you doing, Pope?
Oh, is she back there?
Yeah,
I heard a weird noise. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, it was still kind of daylight and it's hot out. She's probably not gonna go.
It's fucking hot.
Yeah, she's not going to go out when it's hot.
Right.
She doesn't like it. Does she have her collar on, though?
No, because she didn't go out.
Because she was like, fuck it. Well, yeah, so I don't know how true any of this is, but that was like something that was speculated because that was brought up because the official story was, this dude was like an unimpeachable like family man. Like he had a wife, he had 3 grown kids, which he did, and he was still in contact with them. It wasn't like they were estranged or anything like that, but when they started looking deeper into it, when other, journalists and stuff started looking deeper into it, they said maybe it wasn't as cut and dried as that. Like, oh, this dude is just this normal family man, and suddenly he just like flipped out and decided he was going to kill himself and everybody on this plane. He might have had some other issues. And so that's when they started uncovering like the weird social media stuff, like with the models. And, the fact that maybe his wife had left him and, like, moved out of the house. And so maybe, like, it wasn't as, maybe his life wasn't as awesome as they were trying to make it appear. So maybe he did have, like, some reason for doing what he did. Although, like I said, what he did was pretty extreme. Gotta say that.
Well, he might have been crazy, too.
Yeah, although, like I said, nobody, he had worked for this company for like a million years and like, not a million years, but a couple decades. And, nobody really said anything about, they said he was just like a normal, nice dude. It's like nobody
got in a rut.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe it just did, and there was a lot of shit going on maybe in his mind that people didn't know about. Maybe he didn't like share a lot of stuff with people, so it's kind of that thing. Maybe. So Zach brought some stuff up earlier about how this...
Stop tearing up the books.
What is she doing?
Look at that shit.
She's like, but you're not paying attention. Yeah,
Stop it.
He brought up a case earlier, because as weird as this sounds, like I'm going to kill myself and I'm a pilot and I'm going to take a whole plane load of people with me, as fucked up as that sounds, this has happened before. Like I said, it's rare, but it does happen. So there were a couple other cases. There was one in 1997. And there was a guy, he was the captain of the airline. It was a Singaporean airline, Silk Air. And they think that this dude disabled the black boxes on the Boeing 737 he was flying and basically dove the plane into a river, killing everyone on board. So there was that. 1999, there was a guy who was the co-pilot on Egypt Air Flight 990, and he also crashed into the sea off the coast of Long Island. That was 2000. That was 1999 rather, and also killed everyone on board. And there was another one too. This was 2013. This wasn't too long before the Malaysia Airlines thing happened. There was a dude, he was a captain of the Mozambique Airlines, Flight 470, and he actually flew his plane from cruising altitude into the ground. There were 27 passengers and 6 crew members aboard, all of whom were killed. And the one that Zach was talking about was, and this happened in 2014, actually after the Malaysian Airlines, and they think that maybe this co-pilot got the idea from that. So because this guy was a co-pilot, his name was Andreas Lubitz, and he waited for the pilot to go to the bathroom, as I mentioned earlier, locked him out of the cockpit, and then crashed the plane into the Alps. So, that was March of 2015. So, like I said, this is not unprecedented. It's a really, really fucked up way to kill yourself. Seems convoluted, but... I don't know. I can't say that I understand the psychology necessarily, because I would never in a million years take other people with me, because why the fuck would you do that? I mean, those people didn't choose to kill. I mean,
He probably wasn't looking at that.
If you can like choose to kill yourself, fine. But it's just like, dude, I'm even a kind of person where... If you're going to choose to kill yourself, at least do it in a not messy way, so other people don't have to clean up your fucking carcass. And I think we brought that up before, because we were talking about how in the late Victorian era, there was a thing where some people, and I even wrote about a couple cases like this, where a couple dudes, and it was always dudes, would kill themselves by jumping in front of a train. And I was just like, dude, the person driving the train and all the people on the train are traumatized now. All the people that had to clean up your fucking splattered carcass are traumatized now. So good job. Just don't fucking do that. Holy crap.
I had a friend when I was up in Boston. She was in mental health, and she took care of a whole bunch of mental outpatients, and some of them would commit suicide. She knew all about that. She told me about it one time. She said that guys have a tendency to commit suicide in real violent ways.
Yeah, I know they do.
Punish people who see it.
I know.
They want to make a big show about it. Women tend to do it kind of in non-violent, private ways, like pills. And they want to make it setting warnings for people and shit. Don't be surprised when you open the door because I just killed myself, that type of shit.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to you don't want to put other people out. You don't want to traumatize other people. Why would you want to do that? That's fucked up.
Just the mental makeup of some certain dudes. They're trying to punish everybody else. All right.
Which is dumb, because no one feels punished. They're just kind of like, what the fuck, motherfucker?
You're not seeing it through the eyes of a dude who's mentally ill. He's trying to lash back. Fuck you, motherfuckers. You fucking destroyed me. I'm going to destroy all of you. It's kind of a vengeance.
I get
type
that.
thing.
I just don't feel that
This
way.
whole system's fucked up, and it was you guys came at me with this shit, and y'all need to fucking punish for this shit. It's not right. I'm right. You're wrong. Boom. You know. But guys would do all kinds of weird shit according to her. Fucking one of the things that they do is they also like to make themselves fucking suffer. You know what I mean? Like a non-violent way of a guy killing himself is to fucking blow his head off with a fucking pistol. If he wanted to do it violently, then he'd pour gasoline on himself and set himself on fire in front of other people. That was not only making themselves suffer, but that was the idea to make other people suffer to see it. It's show business, you know what I mean? Show business.
It's sociopathy is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's because...
Well, who wrote all that shit? It's
Well,
just, you got a
mean-
pissed off motherfucker and he's trying to lash out and he does
Well,
it.
the thing about it is that...
What's funny is that they'd set themselves on fire. A lot of times they'd survive it. And
Good
then they'd be
job.
sitting there with their skin burned off going, ah!
Well, the
like,
thing
bitch, it
about...
didn't
And
kill you.
I was thinking about this earlier in the context of something else. It might have been in the context of this, but I was reading about something else earlier, and it kind of, like, reminded me of this. I kind of feel like dudes, in general, not everybody, dudes in general have a thing where they actually think that the world at large or, like, other people care about what they do or what their opinions are. And that kind of feeds into, because like you said, if they're going to kill themselves, they just kind of like, hey, motherfucker, I'm punishing you. And it's just kind of like no one feels punished because no one gives that much of a shit about you. But it's just kind of like, I don't know why dudes have that mindset that they think other people care what they do or care about what their motivations are.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the situation because guys sometimes understand it. It all depends on how clear cut it is. Like the dude that got in the Winnebago and he rigged that thing up with a bomb and went and fucking blew himself up over in Nashville the other day outside that AT&T building. And he's even fucking broadcasting, get away from the vehicle, it's going to blow up. He's even doing a countdown.
Yeah, I remember
and
that,
everything. For some reason, he thought that was a good idea. It had something to do with that building. When that building blew up, all the windows blew out, and behind those windows were just more bricks. So it was a hardened building, an AT&T building. So he believed AT&T was up to something. It must be that AT&T is a CIA front. That's what I was thinking. It must have to do with some communications. He was trying to fucking destroy some. Now, they came out with a cover story, the media did. Well, he was against 5G, but they never really showed that as evidence. I think for some reason he thought he was going to war with the CIA. And once those fucking...
Yeah, how'd that go?
No, he was willing to die for it, though. He didn't care.
Well, now he's dead, and it didn't really do any good, did it?
Him living didn't do any good either.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying...
You're trying to look at it from your point of view.
Well, no, I'm kind of feeling like... the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of these kind of dudes have a way inflated sense of their own importance. Yeah. A way inflated sense of their own
that's
importance.
why guys fucking go to war with each other and fucking throw themselves up on the battle.
Because they really think they're something, and it's like, no one cares about you, dude.
They get shit done, though. They got shit done.
Do they?
They get shit done.
It's like, I blew myself up in a Winnebago, and I'm just like, yeah, good job. Now everybody just thinks you're a lunatic.
Well,
so I don't really know what that accomplished.
It was the same thing as dudes fucking going through the fucking Atlantic Wall and fighting the Nazis. It's that same fucking mentality. It's just that for some reason he thought there was something in that building that needed to be exposed, I guess. You know, you don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but he thought he knew what it was.
Well, I'm sure it's probably nothing. I'm sure that dude was probably like a loon.
Maybe.
He was probably a loon.
Maybe. It's hard to say. Maybe he was a fucking secret agent. We don't know. It's a lot of shit.
I doubt it.
There was a lot of secret agent shit that went down, and then they said, no,
highly.
that didn't happen. That didn't happen, but it was secret agent shit.
But I mean,
that's happened many times.
The thing about it, like I said, it's just kind of like, this case was really making me think about, because this dude, and you know, if he was having problems with depression and stuff, which allegedly he probably was, and he wanted to kill himself, I don't understand why you wouldn't just kill yourself and not involve other people that had nothing to do with you.
We don't know that that's what happened, though.
Well, I'm just saying most of the evidence points to that, and that's kind of, you know, I don't buy
it's impossible.
Yeah, I don't buy into. I mean, honestly, pretty much everything, every piece of evidence that they have, like, points to it being deliberate. Now, the only other maybe plausible theory that I've seen was that at some point in the few seconds after his normal radio call-in before he was handed off to Vietnamese airspace, was that maybe, possibly, something catastrophic happened in the cabin, like a fire or something like that, and he decided he was going to, like, turn around real quick and try to land again. But then when he knew that it wasn't, you know, going to be sorted out, he said, well, I'm going to crash the plane into the ocean so I don't crash on land and, like, you know, hurt people on land or whatever. But the fact that he flew for such a long time after that, he might have been dead. So that's a possibility also. So maybe he's a hero. I don't know. Maybe he just said, I don't want to crash the plane on land and I'm going to do this. And maybe he died at some point and the plane just kept going on autopilot and then it ran out of fuel and then it crashed into the ocean. Because like I said, they're not entirely sure. I mean, from at least the satellite data, they're pretty sure that the plane hit the ocean really, really quickly, as if, allegedly, somebody deliberately dove it into the ocean. There is some debate about this, though, because I've seen, like, I saw this Australian documentary, I think it was like a 60 Minutes, and they had two guys on there. One guy thinking, I think the dude, you know, deliberately dove it into the ocean. The other one saying, I think the dude was already dead from hypoxia, and and the plane just ran out of fuel and just, like, fucking went into a death spiral and went into the ocean. Because, like I said, those are going to be two different things. Because if you're diving it into the ocean, it's going to be, like, way faster. So there's still a debate about that, but no one's debating whether it was deliberate or not. The only thing they're debating is maybe there was another, because they haven't found the plane, they haven't found the bodies. You know, it's just marginally possible that it could have been like a third party, as in somebody else that was on the plane that had stowed away, or a terrorist or whatever. But that possibility seems unlikely. So they think like the most likely scenario is that the pilot, or maybe the co-pilot, although he didn't really have a motive, probably deliberately did this as a murder-suicide. And as I said, it's happened before. Now, what the psychology was, like I said, I get it intellectually, but I don't feel that way. So it's like really hard for me to... I would never in a million years, if I was going to take myself out, I would never, ever fucking take anyone else with me. Ever. And not only would I not do that, like I said, if I was going to take myself out, I would take myself out in the most, like, low-key way possible. I don't want somebody having to clean up my splattered remains off a fucking train track or some shit like that. Holy crap. Why would you do that to somebody?
Well, you're a nice person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know that's like a bad thing.
Don't project your good nature onto others. Motherfucker might have been just bad, you know, and he kind of bad, and he was mad, so that's what he did. You know. Not justifying it, but that's what it was.
I'm just saying, I don't even know. It's weird. I didn't know the dude, and it's just kind of like, but
if that's what happened,
from everything that I've heard and seen of like him prior to that, I don't even know if it was so much anger. I think it was just, I think that he thought that he was just like not, I don't know. It more seems to me like he thought he wasn't worth anything. And so he just...
I wouldn't read into it.
I mean, no, I'm just saying there are two possibilities. Either he could have been, and like I said, Dr. Grande, who's a psychiatrist, and he kind of looked into this case, and he thought, well, probably this is the type of dude, and you see this a lot in like mass shooters and that kind of shit, where it's just kind of like, I'm going to punish all these innocent people that have nothing to do with you. You know, because, you know, society fucked me or whatever. It's like they have
religion
this fucking...
too.
No one ever really brought that up, though, because that doesn't really seem like anything that was that important to that dude. That, you know.
It's difficult to say. Some dudes fucking, they can lose their job and all of a sudden they're saying the world is wrong, this isn't what I was told, and, you know what I mean, fucking none of this shit's fair, and fucking, you know, they could be anywhere. America's gone, Germany's gone, Australia's gone, whatever it is, you know. You bitches are all failing and I'm failing and fuck it, let's end the world. You know, it's just you're reading too much into it. It's kind of like mental illness. It's just, you know.
Well, it is. I'm not reading into it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like figure
trying to
out
make too much sense out of
what
it.
his motivation
that
was.
motherfucker didn't.
And other people.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, he had to put a great deal of thought into it because he planned it.
Yeah,
for
I'm
a
sure
long
he did.
time.
But it's gonna be something banal. It's gonna be something very banal. If you heard it, you were like, "That's it." It's gonna Well, it was emotion that's doing this, not.
Which, like I said, if I was one of the family members of the people
Yeah.
that disappeared, I'd be really pissed to hear that it was just some banal reason.
Oh, yeah.
Some random dude decided they were bummed out about life because their
Yeah.
wife left, and it's like, I'm going to kill
And there was no
230
future.
odd
There was no future.
random people
Yeah.
that didn't have anything to do with your shit.
Depression is fucking powerful.
It is, I know.
He's like, fucking, man, they lied to me. Life didn't turn out the way I thought it was. I did everything right. It still didn't work. There's no future for me. Fuck this shit. All these people are bad.
But shit, like, I
Fucking-
get that.
Yeah, it's going to be like,
I get that mindset. What I don't
I'm out of
get...
here. I'm going to take them all with me. They all
see-
deserve it. It's going to be something
But
like
that's
that.
what I mean. I get the whole thing is like, yeah, life's not fair. Like,
Yeah.
everything sucks. I get that. I get wanting to take yourself out. I get
Right.
that. You know, I do. What I don't get is that next step. I'm going to
Because-
take all these people that don't have anything to do with
Because
it.
when you're a dude like that, then you're saying, like, they're not going to be anything either. They don't matter either. If they come with me, then I'm fucking just saving them from all this fucking bullshit. It's like that, you know what I mean? So
And-
we'll just put an end to it. They're going to come with me, and it won't matter because none of this shit matters. They
And the
don't
fact that
matter.
he
Their
seemed
futures
to
don't matter.
have-
It's going to be like that.
And the fact that he seemed to have allegedly flown this plane
yeah.
to a spot in the Indian Ocean, which he seemed very aware was going to be like really difficult to recover, which indeed it has proved to be because they haven't recovered it yet.
Well, it could be that he didn't want anybody to know that it happened.
Well, he
Maybe
did
he-
seem to be, well,
Maybe he thought that he would just disappear off a radar and it would be a mystery forever and no one would ever know.
well, he did seem to think that initially because, like I said, he really did seem to deliberately turn the shit around, like right while he was in between the two countries' airspace. And he, as I said, he had flown that route several times before.
Yeah, he thought they
so
weren't
it's
being
like,
watched.
yeah, so it's like they probably won't find me for like
Yeah.
several hours, so I can go off into the middle of the ocean and like disappear in this like random area. And that's like I said, I understand it. I just don't, you know, I can't, I don't know if empathize is the right word, but it's just like I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
And I don't, and I can't imagine what it must be like to, you know, like I said, I can imagine what it must be like to be like, oh, life sucks, and it's like you want to take yourself out. I get that, but it's like I don't get wanting to like take people, just random ass people with you. Why would you do that?
Because Xanadu says it right there. Suicidal isn't very far from homicidal. It's the same street. Yeah, exactly.
I don't agree though, because maybe it manifests differently.
Yeah.
It might manifest differently because like you said before, when women kill themselves, it usually tends to be like in a kind of quiet way, and you don't see women like taking out a bunch of like innocent people.
No,
because why would you do that?
when women kill
they don't
themselves-
have anything to do with your problems.
Well, I already fucking went through this with that fucking woman. I can't remember her name now. She was my neighbor up in Boston. When women kill themselves, they're just leaving. They're punishing themselves in a way. When men kill themselves, they're lashing out at others. They're gonna fucking punish other people too.
Which is why they are
very, very different.
Which is why they're a menace. Y'all
What's
are
that?
Men are a menace.
Yeah, okay.
Y'all are a
see what
menace.
you're-
No, I'm just saying that's because that would never ever occur to me to do
No.
that.
Well, because
Why would that ever occur to me?
when a man goes suicidal, there's a lot of anger and hatred in it.
Well, I'm not like I feel anger, I feel hatred,
Right.
but it's not
Because
directed
if you're gonna-
if I mean, some of it's
If you're gonna
directed
ki-
outward,
if
but
you-
I
if you-
wouldn't.
Never mind.
I just wouldn't do
Never.
that. I
You're
just wouldn't
talking
do that.
and you're not listening. If you're going to kill yourself, how can they punish you for killing other people? They can't. So they do it. That's why. It's free.
That's a fucked up way of thinking, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dudes
it
are
is.
fucked up. Dude, do you guys really like all think like that? Holy crap.
No.
I need off this planet.
Not all.
I need off this planet like right now.
No, they don't all think like that. It's just the fucking, that's what they're thinking.
Honestly, that would really never occur to me.
Yeah. Fucking
That would never occur.
hormones are a hell of a drug.
That's what I mean. Y'all are a menace.
Yeah. No.
Well, that's just something that would just never occur to me. I would never,
I gotta go to the restroom. Hold on.
Like I said, I understand, like, people, I don't want to be here anymore. I understand that. That's not weird. It's sad, but it's not weird. What I don't understand is I feel bad and want to die and want to be out of here. And then going forward from that to all of these people who have nothing to do with shit that's wrong with me also should die. And you're ruining all these other people's lives because I do not understand that mindset at all. So, I don't know. In a way, it's interesting because I was watching, as I said, there were a couple of Australian documentaries about this case. One that was like a 60 Minutes, the Australian version of 60 Minutes. And one was, I can't remember what the other one was called. But I watched it. They're both on YouTube. So I watched a couple of those. And they talked to a couple of these survivors of, family members of people that have been killed in the crash, that were Australian, New Zealanders, whatever. And interestingly, both of the ones they talked to, who one of them, I think her husband of 14 years had been killed. He was going to China for a job and he had disappeared. And the other one, I think it was her mother-in-law, or was it her mother? No, her sister and her brother-in-law. That's what the other one was. And both of them said, interestingly, that they would not, even though, like, the host of the show was like, look, all the evidence points to the captain essentially committing suicide and taking all of your family members with him. So, like, how do you feel about that? And they were actually probably a lot more charitable than I would have been, because they said, look, we have been raised, it's like, we will not lay blame until we know what the complete truth is. No one has found the plane. No one has found the bodies. Even though all the evidence seems to point in the direction of the captain deliberately crashing the plane in a murder-suicide, we're not going to condemn him because we don't want to, until we know, like, what actually happened, we don't want to cast aspersions on the man because he has a family, they're still alive. And I was like, I was almost kind of like taken aback by that, because I'm like, that's actually, and these are people whose family members were killed, were disappeared. And the fact that they were still willing to give the dude that much latitude, it's like, yeah, we're not going to blame him until we know exactly what happened, because that's not cool, because he has a family too, and he's also dead. So, and maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was the co-pilot. Maybe it was, an unknown third party. Maybe it was a terrorist, which it could have been. It's unlikely, but it could have been. Again, the co-pilot, unlikely, but it could have been. So she's like, we're not gonna like, shit on that dude, because we don't know. So I was kind of like, but I don't know. I had a lot of like admiration for the survivors there in that situation, because, as I said, I'm not sure that I would be that charitable in that situation. And the fact that they could be that charitable was like actually kind of like,
I tried to put a collar on her, but she kept running from me.
Well, she didn't go outside, did she?
She acted like she wanted to.
Yeah, well, she always acts like she wants to.
Yeah, and then when you get a collar and she starts running. To get back to what you're talking about, I think what makes a man kill himself and what makes a woman kill himself, the emotions, I think, are very different. What's making a man kill himself is fucking anger, I think, mostly.
Well,
so
like
he's
I
already
said,
just going kamikaze. And what makes a woman kill herself is very different. More like just, mopey, oh, fuck it, I'm out of here.
It's not mopey. Yeah. We feel anger, too.
Yeah.
You know that, right? It's just that...
I think it's...
The thing about it is that dudes, in general, tend to blame others for their problems. Yeah. Women tend to blame themselves.
Yeah,
for
that
their
might
problems.
be true. That might be true.
generally.
Yeah.
So I think that might go
But
a
that's
long
probably
way
true.
toward
That's probably true.
describing what.
I'm just kidding.
Why are you making? He
not making fun.
constantly makes fun of me.
I'm not making fun. That
Constantly
might be
makes
true
fun.
I don't know.
It is true.
I think
it is true.
No, I'm just saying it might be that what makes a man mad is things that other people do, and they might kill.
I mean,
themselves over
I
it.
get mad at what
Right.
other people do too,
It
but
all
it's
just
like
depends on
I
a certain point of view.
understand that I can't
Right.
do anything about other people's
There's
behavior.
nothing wrong with men. There's nothing wrong with women. It's just a different viewpoint, and it's a
I'm just saying
it's a different
that
system.
men in general tend to blame others
Yeah,
rather than themselves when something goes wrong.
but maybe it's not them.
Well, in some cases, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, so
but
I'm
in a
just
lot
saying,
of cases,
maybe it's not them.
Well, in a lot of
It might
cases,
be their
because
their
in a
reaction
lot
to
of
it.
cases, women blame themselves when they shouldn't. When someone else is being an asshole,
I'll be a judge of
a
that.
lot of times, like women will blame themselves, like maybe I did something wrong, even when the other person is being a dick smack.
It depends, though.
It's just, but it's kind of like you don't really know.
It depends, though. I have seen situations where women have blamed themselves, and fucking from there, and depending on how you look at it, they could have been fucking partially to blame for everything is just opinion and fucking perspective. It's hard to tell sometimes. It's hard to tell what truth is. I don't really believe in truth that much. I just know what happens and what doesn't. Because the interpretation of what happens and what doesn't happen is often fucking depend on who's seeing it.
Sandra says, I know 2 men personally who killed themselves. Both went quietly with as little mess in every regard as possible. I think it depends on the reason why you want to go.
Yes.
I knew a dude, he was a friend of mine in high school, and I found out that he'd killed himself like a year or 2 after graduation. And he did shoot himself in the head, but he did it in a way, he did it in his room, and he like wrapped himself up in a sleeping bag, I think it was, and then like shot himself in he wanted his dad to find him, but he didn't, because him and his dad like did not get along. So he didn't take anybody else out, he didn't do anything like that. He just like did it very quietly, like in his room. So yeah, and Tila says women have gripes and a right to anger, so just stop. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of feel like every time like women express anger or anything like that, we get like fucking, I don't know. It's just
Well,
the whole thing.
you were kind of saying the same thing about men, though, too, though.
Yeah, but the thing about, what we're discussing is a dude, allegedly, that decided he wanted to kill himself, which, okay, fine. That's your choice.
Yeah.
But he also decided to take 230 odd innocent people who were just on a plane going to Beijing with him, and it's like that is not justifiable in any fucking stretch of the imagination.
Of course it is.
I don't care how angry you are.
No.
I don't care how much people pick on you. I don't care about any of that shit. I just don't.
Listen to her getting all high and mighty.
No, I'm just saying. I don't care
Motherfucker
about
was
that.
crazy.
You don't have the fucking right to do that.
He was
You don't have
fucking
the right to do
crazy.
that.
Rights have nothing to do with it. Do with crazy.
Well, yeah, but I'm
Rights
just
don't
saying
have
that
anything
it's.
to do with it. He
I'm
was
just
fucking
saying that
crazy.
like dudes like
crazy.
this in general. When dudes kill themselves, and like I said, we've seen it. Thank you, Gadget3, because I forgot to say hi. I blame the Jaeger bombs.
This kind of shit is not fucking normal. All right, fucking.
Thankfully,
Most dudes don't do this.
now I don't ever want to fly in a plane.
But the
ever
motherfucker
again.
was crazy. You know what I mean? You're getting all fucking bent out of shape about it. The dude was crazy.
I'm not bent out of shape. I'm just saying.
Okay.
But it's just kind of like. Well, the thing
that's just not fucking normal.
worries me is that
It's the same thing. It's the same fucking crazy shit. Fucking, we have a woman who she goes crazy and drowns her 3 kids in the bathtub because of postpartum depression. It's fucking hormones have something to do with it, but bitch was crazy too.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the thing about it, like I
same
said,
shit.
and we've talked about this before because we talked about a lot of serial killers on the show.
Yeah. What's up, Pookie?
When women are killers, with the exception of Aileen Mornos, and a couple others, but when women are killers, they usually tend to kill
Children.
people close to them.
Yeah. And children.
Children, their husbands,
Old people, dead people.
old
that are
people,
dying.
like people, yeah.
Yeah.
So people that are known to them, people they can. Whereas dudes seem a lot more comfortable just killing like random ass people.
Well, they're crazy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
It's not
that
dudes like that. That's normal dudes. I mean, it's not normal women.
well, yeah, I'm not
their
saying
kids in the.
well, no,
fucking
no
pool.
one's saying any of this
Right.
is normal. You're
Right.
extrapolating that.
Well,
You're
you just keep
extrapolating
saying
that.
dudes and dudes like it's just dudes. It's just men do that. No, these motherfuckers are crazy.
I mean, the fact that you get like
These are crazy
upset about
dudes.
it. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you.
I'm not
Don't
saying.
get
I'm not
offended.
saying you are.
Don't get offended.
I'm just saying don't be
You know,
attacking men at large.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
though.
it's not. It's
You know what
not.
I'm
It's
saying.
not men. It's these.
I'm
motherfuckers.
talking about like dude serial
Okay.
killers.
All right, we'll just straighten that shit
Women
out.
serial killers.
Okay, we'll
honestly,
straighten that.
when I said the shit, did I not just say women tend to do this?
Yeah.
You didn't say not all women. You
Yeah.
just said not all dudes.
That shit.
So, you know.
Bitches would be crazy.
And I'm not talking about all. I'm not talking about all dudes. Obviously, I'm not talking about all women. Obviously.
Okay.
The fact that y'all get like all so upset about it is just that's
Give me a drink or too much.
interesting.
How much you want another drink?
Sure.
Okay. See, drinking too much wants more. I'm gonna give you another one.
That's only my second one. You've had like
Yeah,
way
that
more
shit
than
was like a fucking triple.
Tom is offended. He is.
Of course I'm offended. That shit was like fucking trip. That shit
But
was
he's
like a
allowed to
triple.
say shitty stuff about women all day
No,
long. and
I
I'm
don't
not
say.
allowed.
I don't say
I'm not
shitty-
allowed to
I don't
be
say
offended.
shitty shit about women all the time. What are you talking about?
I'm
I don't
not
say. I don't
allowed
say
to be
anything.
offended.
I don't say anything shitty
I'm
about
not
women.
allowed to be offended.
With the breasts like that, I'm gonna say something shitty
See?
about these fucking pretty. No, no, it's fucking creatures of beauty. Creatures of beauty.
Sure, whatever.
Do you want the same thing, or you want coconut in it?
Let's try the coconut. Let's see what that tastes like.
Okay.
Because that was the same. That was cherry.
That was cherry.
Yeah, it tasted like cherry. Yeah, that's the thing. But it was, I don't know. In a way, I was reading about this story. Like I said, I'm horrified. Anything to do with a plane crash is going to like put my anxiety right through the fucking roof because I do not like flying in planes. And I will try to avoid it whenever possible. Actually, I would be happy if I never had to fly in a fucking plane ever again. That'd be totally fine with me. I just don't like it. You know, I have to drink a lot before I get on. I just don't want to even know that I'm there. And so the fact that you don't even have to, it's not just the fact that just like, oh, I have to worry about mechanical failure or I have to worry about a terrorist attack or a bombing or like a missile or whatever. And it could be, yes, it's rare, but it could be that there's just one dude who's a pilot and he's totally normal in every regard and nobody saw the shit coming. And then he decided on this one particular flight, on this one, thank you, particular random night that didn't have anything to do with anything. I am going to kill myself tonight and I'm going to kill all these people. With that just like, oh. I watched like so many documentaries about this and I'm like, I was saying to myself the whole time, I was like, this is so fucking creepy. This is so fucking creepy. Because you don't know. Those 230 whatever people that got on that plane, they just thought, hey, we're in Malaysia, we're going to like China, we're going back home, or we're going to a job, or whatever the fuck we were doing. We're going vacation like some of the people from Australia were. And it's like, we're doing that, and you had no idea that the pilot of this plane was like had this whole fucking elaborate plan. Can you imagine?
God, you tell me my hair is gorgeous and beautiful. Thank you very much. My hair is gorgeous and
You're
beautiful.
so gorgeous and beautiful.
Yeah. Pookie, why are you calling me?
Victor says, I love flying. I love chilling at the airports, people watching all that. I love airports. Honestly, I really like airports. I don't know why, but I hate fucking flying. I hate it. I wish I loved it, but I don't.
You see, Sandra fucking hit that shit right on the nail. She says, Tom, you gave her the test. You gave her that testosterone, makes her ass wild. Yeah, it does. It makes her wild. It's. I think it's.
I was
it's
mean
just,
before, though.
No, it makes you wild. It makes you wild.
Okay.
It makes you wild. It hasn't fully kicked in. It's a female dose. It's very weak, but it has a different effect on women. I'm just waiting to see what happens.
DC says, Tom and Jenny, I thought you all drank a lot, but I was in Florida a couple weeks ago, Key West, Orlando, Pensacola.
Yeah.
And had to drink twice as much as Colorado to get drunk. Yeah, at high altitudes, you don't have to drink as much.
Yep.
So we're at sea level.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's the excuse we're going
See,
with today.
man, fucking, I would love to go down to Key West down there, fucking, and just be like a beach bum. But Jenny hates that kind of shit. So if I'd be down there, be by myself.
Well, Key West is cool though.
I'd be out there, fucking, like getting sun and fucking with.
I'm not gonna lay out in the sun.
Oh, I'd get in the fucking sun. I'd have fucking.
You get
like,
skin cancer.
I'd have like a fucking drink with an umbrella in it. I'd fucking be hanging out. Fucking,
Well, I like that.
Yeah, I'd be out fucking hanging out with fucking Michael Caine and the little boy from the island.
Wait, is
and
he
shit.
still alive?
No, he's dead, I think.
Okay.
Now, Michael Caine might be alive, I'm not sure.
Zombie Michael Caine?
Yeah, we'd be
All
out
right.
there fucking talking about the island and fucking going out on fucking boats and shit. Snoop Dogg would be there. Fucking, we'd be smoking blunt. Fucking, even the Snoop Dogg.
I like Key West, though.
Yeah.
I like some kind of aspects of that. You know, I like all the kind of like coastal, like seafood type, which I like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't really like, oh, let's just like lay on a beach and cook for like 5 hours.
I like that kind of shit sometimes.
No. Well, I grew up like that.
I got certain things. So you got
grew up like that.
certain times in your life where you might have to do that. You got to take a fucking break.
Michael Caine's still alive, says
Is he still alive? Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Michael Caine's the shit, man. Maybe put on my Michael Caine wig. No,
I'm
looking too pretty to put my Michael
I'm
Caine
telling
wig on.
DC, I actually went to Colorado a few years ago because my sister used to live there in Denver. And I noticed that too. Now, one of the first things when I got there, I was totally fine. The next day, I got really, really bad altitude sickness because, like I said, most of my life I've lived at sea level. So, you know, going up to that like mile high or whatever, I felt really, really weird, and I felt really, really vomity. Let's call it that. So, you know, so I couldn't really eat much. Like I ate and I would throw up, and it was all this other kind of stuff. But after I got over that, my sister like took me up in the mountains, and like we saw the where they filmed the exteriors for the overlook and all that kind of stuff. And then like we went up in the mountains, and it was amazing. I don't think I'd ever seen mountains like that close up, like as big a mountains. I'd been to like, you know, Wales and stuff. They have mountains there, but not like Colorado mountains.
Yeah.
Like where you go up in the mountains and there's like clouds are like below you.
T's telling Xanada about fucking the movie The Hand. All right. He doesn't know who Michael Caine is, I guess. I've been showing so many cool movies to Xanada offline. You know, fucking we PM each other or DM each other. Direct message. You guys got new ways of saying that shit. So, I showed him Road Warrior. Fucking Mad Max 2. He loved that shit. I said, man, you gotta fucking watch Fury Road. And it's hard. He has a hard time getting around to it. He's a millennial. They got a real short attention span of like a gnat or a goldfish. But that one fucking pulled him in. He liked that one. Well,
I love
He couldn't get through fucking Conan too well. He loved fucking Apocalypse Now. That changed his whole fucking life. He's like, oh, now I see what a movie is. I said, yeah, Apocalypse Now is the shit because it's real. There's no CG going on. Well, The Hand was kind of like Michael Caine's version of the Apocalypse Now, in a certain way. The Hand was about an abusive motherfucker, man, and Conan's referenced in it because Oliver Stone did The Hand, and Oliver Stone wrote the original Conan fucking script, and he was friends with Milius, so he likes Milius. Then you'd like Stone. Oliver Stone's fucking great. Watch The Hand. And then there's another Michael Caine movie called The Island. It's about Florida, and he fucking finds some pirates in Florida.
Yeah, pirates.
And they're real pirates from fucking back in the day that had been
Also, David Warner's in it.
David Warner's
We
in
all
it.
love David Warner.
They're inbred pirates from back in the day living on a damn island. Fucking, and they were stealing everything off the damn cocaine boats. It's a trip, man. That's another good one. That shit scared me, man. Early 80s when that came out. That fucking movie scared me. But yeah, you want to see. And The Hand scared me too. But Michael Caine is a legend. He's still
The Hand
alive.
freaked me out when I was a kid. Well, I brought this up before. Any kind of movie that had like any kind of dismemberment, particularly decapitation, but not always. It could be like an arm or a hand that got cut off. That really, really scarred me as a kid.
Michael Caine was not a physically powerful man, but he was a spiritually and emotionally powerful British dude. He always felt like he was one drink away from fucking slapping the shit out of you. That he would
Like
do
Oliver
something.
Reed.
Yeah, Oliver Reed also. Those two dudes right there. Legendary British drunks. And they were both kind of drank a lot. Oliver Reed even more so.
Everyone did back
they
then.
all did back then.
They were kind of... And the fact
They were
that they
similar,
were
those two.
known for it back then
Yeah.
is kind of impressive because kind of everyone was a drunk back then.
Yeah. Everybody drank and everybody did drugs, but fucking
So
Oliver
if you
Reed-
were like drunk enough to be like commented upon by other drunks, then you were honestly like the pinnacle of drunkenness.
Oliver Reed was another one who was a good British actor that was fucking one drink away from fucking whipping your ass.
We just rewatched Burnt Offerings.
Yeah, really good.
Because Shudder just added it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to rewatch it again anyway because I've seen that movie a million times, but I just reread the book, like, because I did the review like a few weeks back, and then I wanted to rewatch the movie again because I wanted to see like how similar it was, and I forgot how much I love that fucking movie. I love that fucking movie. It's so good.
Reed, when you were a kid, Reed was fucking scary. I see him now. I understand him a lot more as an adult. But when you were a kid, you know, in your early teens or your teenagers, he was an impressive. They were both very impressive dudes. Oliver Reed, in a certain way, was kind of like a non-heavy metal version of fucking lead singer from Iron Maiden. They always kind of reminded me of, what was his name? Bruce Dickinson. He was kind of like Bruce Dickinson, but bigger. Yeah. And I liked him, though. Fucking, you had to be there at that time. It was England had a pretty strong influence over 80s American culture because of the British New Wave of the music, but the film, too. They would put those guys in American movies, big budget American movies. It was a good time. It was a really good time to be American. Probably a really good time to be British too. The 80s and the 70s were the shit. If you were the right people. If you were the right people. It was before YouTube. There was a lot of gatekeepers. Everything was centralized. You had to go through certain studios, and you just couldn't.
Well, but I kind of feel like in the 70s in particular, and we've kind of like brought this up before, in the 70s, I kind of feel like there was more, even big studios were more open to experimental shit.
Yeah.
Which after the 80s came along, they're like, no, we just want money. So it's just like that we want everything like formulaic. But in the 70s, they were kind of like willing to kind of go out on a limb and experiment on stuff.
Well, it's because cable wasn't the competition in the 70s. There was a lot more theater, so you had to make a lot more movies. So a lot of the experimental 70s shit of the 70s would have just ended up being YouTube movies of today. Something that you put out. And I have seen some good YouTube movies. I'm
just going to tell you that one of the, a review that I just did that I think is going to go up, I guess it's going up Thursday or Wednesday if you're a patron. I watched the movie, it's Steven Soderbergh, and it's Unsane. That whole movie was shot on an iPhone 7.
Yeah.
And honestly, I did not notice.
Yeah.
Other people probably did, I'm sure. But I didn't know that going in because I just like heard it was a good movie. It was Steven Soderbergh, and I love him because, you know, Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Come on. Also, he did the Ocean's 11 movies, but whatever. And so, like, I watched it, and it was really good. And then later, when I was researching it, they said, oh, the whole thing was shot on an iPhone 7. And I was like, okay. It was a little bit, it was a weird aspect ratio, but I didn't really, like, notice anything otherwise. Maybe I'm just dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so Gramthars Hammer says Riley Keough was in Fury Road. Riley was in The Girlfriend Experience with Marilyn Rice-Cub.
Okay.
Tom was in Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat with Mary Lynn.
Yeah.
Tom has 1 degree of separation from Riley Keough.
Yeah.
Who was in the Fury Road movie.
Yeah,
so
true.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I know everybody.
Xanada says, I just don't have time to watch all these movies. I kind of feel like, man, I scroll through, like, whenever I'm doing the polls and stuff like that for Patreon, I'm always kind of like, I try to come up with, like what's available right now. I want some old movies, I want some new movies, and I try to put all that stuff in there. Yeah. But it's like, when I go through all the streaming services that I subscribe to, Shudder, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Tubi, whatever, there are so many movies in there that I want to see and that I haven't seen yet. It really, sometimes it like overwhelms me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh shit, I haven't seen that yet. Oh man, I gotta watch that. Like, somebody told me to watch that. And then, like, not only that, but it's like I have a fucking pile of books I gotta fucking read.
I'm only one degree away from Kurt Russell. I'm directly in the fucking Russell sphere. because who's a listener who I went to military school with did the sound on Escape from L.A. and Bone Tomahawk, and I think also had something to do. I think he told me that he had something to do with. That was the one where he was driving in the car.
Breakdown.
Breakdown. Yeah, I think he was in that one too. I think. But I know he sent me pictures of him and Crussell and fucking Escape from New York, or Escape from L.A. and Bone Tomahawk. So, yeah, I'm in the Crussell sphere. Deep in the Crussell sphere.
That sounded dirty.
Deep in the... And he said...
I just imagined you like...
He said I'd get along with... He said I'd get along with Crussell.
He seems like a nice
Crussell's
dude.
awesome.
Everybody says he's a nice dude.
Yeah, we were talking about guns and whatever, you know. Fucking Crussell's into all that shit. He when they had him on I think it was another guy that I knew is doing I think he's a sometimes listener. He's doing a documentary about the movie Soldier, and he had some of the guys that worked on Soldier with him. And they said that when they were doing that movie, they did like a poll on everybody in the cast of who they wanted to be Todd from the movie Soldier, who was Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell came in as the most liked actor out of all the crew. They said that nobody disliked him. Everybody at least thought he was okay or liked him a lot. So Kurt Russell's one of the most liked actors in Hollywood.
I buy that.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, he comes across as just like a genuine dude.
He was genuine, yeah.
He doesn't come across as like an asshole or like he's trying to be something he's not.
Everybody says he's real solid. He's just like a solid regular guy. A regular cool dude. Not, you know, he's not a regular guy. A regular guy might be a fucking douche, you know what I mean? But he's just like a solid cool dude. Everybody likes him.
Yeah.
He's not deceptive or two-faced.
Well, yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
No. All right. Where were we?
You see?
How many degrees from BTK?
I don't know. I don't think
Ooh, we'd have to like figure that out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Xanada says, I like historical films, though. I'd probably like JFK. I'll watch it. JFK's good, but don't take it like it's historical fact, because a lot of it is like wildly exaggerated. But it's a good movie. As long as you don't like think it's real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's a little crazy. But it's a good movie.
Okay, DC says, Tom, I'll make it my mission to get you 0 degrees. I don't know how, but DC's the guy who I think he changed his screen name, but that's the guy I went to military school with. I think. Yeah. Okay. He knows him.
Xanada says, thanks for the disclaimer.
What's that?
Xanada said, thanks for the disclaimer.
Yeah.
I'm just like, as long as you don't watch it and think like, oh shit, this shit really happened, because a lot of it is like...
What are you talking about?
JFK.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of it is distorted or exaggerated, or, you know... We'll call it like artistic license.
Yeah.
Let's call it that.
I'd love to have Crussell on the show. Show would fucking blow the fuck up if Crussell comes on. We'd do a whole Crussell show. Talk about all of his movies.
Gramthars Hammer says, Carrie Rader,
Yeah.
BTK's daughter,
Yeah.
lives in Orlando. Go to CrimeCon this year, and it will be 1 degree of separation. Honestly, like, I was going to do CrimeCon last year before the pandemic shit. And I was, like, planning a booth, and then we were, like, talking about it, because I kind of got asked to do it. And then, you know, it didn't happen, and I was just kind of like, it would cost us too much to do it anyway, and I don't think it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Because it was really expensive, like, to get a booth and everything. But interesting. I'd like to go one of these days if the tickets aren't too expensive. Just saying.
Yeah. So, we about wrapped up with this?
I suppose so.
Yeah, it's time for us. Let's get something to eat. You hungry?
I'm drunk and hungry.
Yeah, we'll make you something to eat.
Drungry.
I'm making drungry. Yeah, I'll make you something to eat.
That's a new word. I just coined that shit.
I got those hamburger patties. Sound good?
You gonna make a hamburger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sound good? All
right.
I'll toast the buns and everything. Toast them in a pan.
Oh my god, he's gonna toast your
on
buns.
butter.
He's gonna toast the buns.
Yeah, with cheese and bacon bits.
Well, don't get too crazy.
Okay.
Make that shit rare. I like to make that shit rare.
They're frozen patties. I don't know if I trust them rare. You know what I mean? If it was good hamburger and
I'm not
going
gonna
to
die. It's all right.
All right.
But yeah, so I kind of feel like I covered most of the shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like I said, I know there's a lot of crazy theories out there. I'm pretty convinced that the captain, Zahari, decided, for whatever reason, that he was going to take himself out.
Sounds like there's a good chance.
Yeah. And it's like, so I not only decided to kill 230 odd people, but also decided I'm going to, like, put this plane in the ocean in a place where they're probably not gonna find it, which shitty. Okay. Hopefully one of these days they find this fucking wreckage. I mean, I feel like at least for the family's sake, so they can at least have some closure, so they can find the bodies, they know what happened to the people, and they have something, you know. Because I think when I watched the documentaries, like, a lot of the survivors were like, I wish I just had a body that I could, like, say goodbye to. Because they know that the people are dead. They know that. But
They're buried at sea.
Yeah, but it's like, well, you know, they didn't want to be there, like, in the middle of the Indian Ocean. That really wasn't where they would have wanted to be. So, hopefully one of these days they'll find it. They probably will, eventually. They know roughly where it's at. It's just, it's a big place to search. So, we'll see how it goes. So, I think we covered everything, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so
They're already
thank
checking
you,
out.
everybody, for dropping by. Sandra says, wow, I made it through the whole show and didn't fall asleep. Glad I didn't fall asleep. I might after this, though, but I'm hungry. So, thank you, everybody, for dropping by. Have a good weekend. We will see you guys Sunday. We'll probably be talking about Midsummer, right? Because we just watched that again. And I know we already kind of did a matinee on that, but when we saw it in the theater. But we just rewatched it, so we'll probably, like, talk about it again on Sunday. So we'll see you guys then. Thank you, everybody, for dropping by. Thank you, everybody, for your super chats and everything, conversation. It's always super fun. So we will see you guys on Sunday afternoon, and we will see you guys then. Bye.